The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind is this feeling working to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
The world is changing every day. Civilization is weird.
Time's coming.
That's
Ready to get me stopped. Over here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind is this feeling working to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have been wrong. Officer, call me.
I can only show you the door.
Waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is weird.
Time's coming.
That's
Ready to get me stopped. Over here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind is this feeling working to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have been wrong. Officer, call me.
I can only show you the door.
Waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is weird.
Time's coming.
That's
Ready to get me stopped. Over here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind is this feeling working to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have been wrong. Officer, call me.
I can only show you the door.
Waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
The world is changing every day.
Civilization is weird.
Time's coming.
That's
Ready to get me stopped. Over here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Try to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have been wrong to break. Lots here calling.
I can only show you the door.
Waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Recognizing the world is changing every day.
Civilization's weird.
Time's coming. Trade can be stopped. It's already here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Try to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have been wrong to break. Lots here calling.
I can only show you the door.
Waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Recognizing the world is changing every day.
Civilization's weird.
Time's coming. Trade can be stopped. It's already here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Try to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have been wrong to break. Lots here calling.
I can only show you the door.
Waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Recognizing the world is changing every day.
Civilization's weird.
Time's coming. Trade can be stopped. It's already here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Try to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have been wrong to break. Lots here calling.
I can only show you the door.
Waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Recognizing the world is changing every day.
Civilization's weird.
Time's coming. Trade can be stopped. It's already here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering
will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind is this feeling spoken to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have been wrong. Monsieur, call me.
I can only show you the door.
Waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Recognize the world is changing every day.
Civilization is weird.
Time's coming. Trying to get me stopped. I'm over here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth. Nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind is this feeling spoken to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have been wrong. Monsieur, call me.
I can only show you the door.
Waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Recognize the world is changing every day.
Civilization is weird.
Time's coming. Trying to get me stopped. I'm over here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth. Nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind is this feeling spoken to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have been wrong. Monsieur, call me.
I can only show you the door.
Waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Recognize the world is changing every day.
Civilization is weird.
Time's coming. Trying to get me stopped. I'm over here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth. Nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind is this feeling spoken to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have been wrong. Monsieur, call me.
I can only show you the door.
Waking up.
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Recognize the world is changing every day.
Civilization is weird.
Time's coming. Trying to get me stopped. I'm over here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth. Nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind is this feeling spoken to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Singular, heavy, wrong, break. Sheriff calling.
I can only show you the door.
Waking under
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing. Every day,
Civilization is weird.
time's coming. Trading can't be stopped. It's already here.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Singular, heavy, wrong, break. Sheriff calling.
I can only show you the door.
Waking under
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing. Every day,
Civilization is weird.
time's coming. Trading can't be stopped. It's already here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Singular, heavy, wrong, break. Sheriff calling.
I can only show you the door.
Waking under
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing. Every day,
Civilization is weird.
time's coming. Trading can't be stopped. It's already here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Singular, heavy, wrong, break. Sheriff calling.
I can only show you the door.
Waking under
You're the one that has to walk through it.
Something's happening, right?
The world is changing. Every day,
Civilization is weird.
time's coming. Trading can't be stopped. It's already here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth.
And this will be our last chance to say.
Trying to free your mind. It is this feeling that has brought you to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Singular, heavy, wrong,
show you the door.
Awaken under
You're the one that has to walk through it.
It's almost time, right?
the world is changing. Every day,
Civilization is weird.
time's coming.
Trafficking.
Can't be stopped. It's already here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth. Nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
I'm trying to free your mind. It is this feeling that is broken to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have a wrong break. A lot of us here have called me.
I can only show you the door.
Awaken under
You're the one that has to walk through it.
It's almost time, right?
the world is changing. Every day,
Civilization is weird.
time's coming.
Trafficking.
Can't be stopped. It's already here.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is a struggle for the survival.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth. Nothing more.
And this will be our last chance to say.
I'm trying to free your mind. It is this feeling that is broken to me.
At last.
No judge in U.S. history has ever told somebody what they can and can't say.
The whole purpose of the First Amendment is to keep the government the hell out of the business of speech.
Many of us have a wrong break. A lot of us here have called me.
I can only show you the door.
Awaken under
You're the one that has to walk through it.
It's almost time, right?
the world is changing. Every day,
Civilization is weird.
time's coming.
Trafficking.
Can't be stopped. It's already here.
Mic check. Mic check. Ladies and gentlemen,
This is your last chance.
thank you for tuning in to the True Perspective. We are live. We are just getting it all set up. And we got Paul Rianna Jr. and Kara Kryptonite in the studio today. The True Perspective. Make sure, if you're tuned in right now, I highly recommend that you go to the Rumble app. Go to rumble.com/the True Perspective, the TRU Perspective. I'll be monitoring it as well as best as I can to make sure that you can hear us and see us.
Chance. After
And I checked earlier, it looked like everything was up, so that's good. But like, share, subscribe. If you're just tuning in right now, we are starting this off. Well, we're a couple minutes early. Looks like, are we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're a couple minutes early. That's all great. That's all good. I'll give people time. I'll give people time to come in.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can
Yep.
you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I'll let you know. Like I'll let you know to adjust the mic closer if you need to. I have volume control over here too. Paul, you can hear?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, good. Good. So yeah, if you're tuning in, we are still about a minute early. You can probably see us live right now. We got Paul Rianna Jr., independent candidate for Rhode Island Governor, former independent candidate for Rhode Island Governor, Paul Rianna Jr., and Kara Kryptonite. Also shout outs to Independent, what is it? Independent
Independent American Party.
Independent American Party. Yeah.
The Independent American Patriots.
Patriots. Yep, that's what I was looking for too. Like, share, subscribe on the Tru Perspective, the TRU Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Rumble. I highly recommend going to the Rumble app. Rumble will not censor this. YouTube possibly will. Facebook most definitely will.
Ooh, free speech.
Yeah. Shout outs to free speech. No more of that. TikTok last night took me off of their platform. Didn't take me off of their platform, but took me off of their live platform portion. I'm not allowed to. I was a bad boy apparently yesterday.
Why? Though?
So, well, I don't want to go into too far why, but we definitely were just talking about. So I had Freedom Man in here yesterday. We were doing a podcast. We did a pre-record podcast, and like I said earlier, offline, we did the second half. I had TikTok up, and me and him were going back and forth about some election stuff, some Trump stuff, some Biden stuff. I don't want to get into too much.
They gave you a reason why they took it down, though.
They did not. They only said misinformation.
Okay. So
Only
misinformation, but we're not going to tell you what you
Yep.
misinformed people about.
Only misinformation.
So how are you supposed to improve or get better, and not spread
That's
misinformation?
a good question.
If they don't tell you what the misinformation was.
I appealed it. I haven't gotten an answer back. I probably won't. I'm pretty sure they're solid in their decision. I already had 2 videos taken down because I was talking about Mike Pence on some other stuff. And I'm pretty sure that got reported because I did a stitch. You know, like when you do a stitch, it'll play a part of that person's video that posted, and then you go into your segment. I'm pretty sure that person reported. They said they didn't, but I think they did. I don't know who they are either. Doesn't matter. Yeah. But TikTok removed me.
TikTok trolls came in force to get
They
your
did.
video
They
taken
did.
down.
You know, one thing I got to give to trolls is that they definitely come. They support each other. They support each other. They love that. They love that censorship stuff.
They're like, oh, go after this guy.
Mm-hmm. He's saying misinformation.
Every post I put up, there's like hundreds of trolls.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
It's crazy, and then they always have a hidden identity. Like they can never say it from their real account.
It always says like user like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8.
Yeah, cowards.
Yep, for sure.
In my humble opinion.
Yep. I mean, I'm not fully against anonymity, but if you're being a troll and you're telling people that you're misinforming, but you're not misinforming, you're actually telling, the background of all of the truth, and then they flag you for it. Then they try to get you flagged for it. I thought TikTok was a little bit more of an open platform, but then again, I'm not surprised. I shouldn't be naive. It is run or invented by. It's a Chinese app apparently. It's a spy app. Yeah. But so are all the others apps that we got. Shout outs to Eric Snowden.
I'm not against China, but I am against the Chinese Communist Party.
So
because
that's what I mean.
For censorship and
100%.
Wanting to dominate the world.
100%. Even the Chinese citizens out there have been protesting against the CCP and all that stuff. I mean, they get.
And their citizen surveillance is crazy. You say something they don't like, they show up with white vans. And you're gone. They
were. What do you call it? They were sealing doors shut, like apartment doors shut, welding them shut during the height of the pandemic.
I saw so many people like yelling out their windows. Like it was terrible. My heart goes out to everybody who had to go through that.
Yep. We don't want that shit here. And it's for sure on its way.
Yes,
right.
Just yesterday the Communist Party USA publicly announced that they're in an alliance with the Chinese Communist Party now. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but in Rhode Island, we have so many people, particularly progressives, who are part of the Communist Party USA. Like at progressive rallies, you'll see they like show up with the flags. They don't even try to hide the fact that they're communists. And it's like,
yeah, you were talking about that offline, and I had no idea that there was an actual party, and then I asked, I think I asked like who's the head of that out here, like a chapter, and no one seems to know, unfortunately.
I'm not sure. I'm sure if we dug deeper into it, we might be able to find out. But for the most part, everything they do online, they try to keep it anonymous.
Good old World
They're, like,
Economic
taking
Forum.
over the Democrat Party of Rhode Island. Not only Rhode Island, they're like taking over the Democrat Party throughout the United States.
Right. World
It's
Economic
like common
Forum.
sense Democrats are becoming less and less nowadays.
Well, that's the thing. That's another thing that I talk about often too, is that the so-called Democrats that we're seeing today aren't Democrats. They're hijacked.
A far way
yes,
from the
yes.
JFK days.
Of course, 100%.
And I'm not even a Republican. I'm an independent. I've always been an independent. I think Republicans have enough faults of their own as well.
Absolutely.
But this communist and socialist thing is just going way too far. You know, every single country that's implemented that, you can see how it's worked out.
They've fallen. Well. They would fail and fall, or at least the citizens do.
Yeah.
All right. We're live. It's 5:35, and we were on time. We were early, which is good. Last time, so far it's a lot smoother than it is today. Last time, and we got viewers in here. Like, share, subscribe, share the live. Highly recommend going to Rumble to get the full experience, because Facebook and YouTube, you know, it's a hit or miss on whether or not they'll keep this up. From what we're about to talk about, we're live in the studio once again with Paul Rianna Jr. and Kara Kryptonite.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, absolutely, 100% excited about this. And of course, your host Tru with the Tru Perspective, the TRU Perspectives on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Rumble, YouTube. Go to Rumble. I was gonna be, like I said earlier, if you were tuned in, I was gonna go live on TikTok. That's not gonna happen. Go check out the video of why later. But if you're here, yeah, I know. But last week, Saturday, we were there was a protest, an awareness protest for child trafficking. 1.2 million children go missing, trafficked every year globally. And
I've heard the number is even higher than that, too.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I've heard it's like more near 2 million, which is like, ooh.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, how many cases are like unknown?
Exactly.
You know what
That's
I'm saying?
Just what's reported.
Like the orphan type children that are whatever globally that aren't tracked. Like, you know, where are they?
Here in Rhode Island a few years ago, there were a ton of children that went missing under the care of DCYF, under the Gina Raimondo administration.
Correct.
And it just like disappeared from the news.
Yeah, that case needs to come back to life, and I think that needs to be pursued too. If there's anything if there's one road, in my opinion, to go towards to find some people who may be involved with child trafficking or children going missing. I mean, obviously, children going missing. You know, how does that happen? Who's responsible for it? How do we get them to? How do we make them accountable for that responsibility?
Right now in Hawaii, there's like 1,200 children that are still missing after the wildfires and everything.
And it wasn't due to wildfires either, right? It was just due to...
Who knows?
Who knows, right?
I had this guy that came into my job the other day. He was from Hawaii. He has family out there. They're all safe and everything, which is great. But he was telling me that his aunt told him that the water was shut off before that happened.
In Maui?
Yeah, and... As you might know, they didn't really tell anybody to evacuate. There was no warning. It was just like people saw smoke and they were like, oh my gosh, we gotta go. But before any of that happened, the water got shut off. And that's something that I haven't seen anybody talking about. I'm like, why would they shut the water off but not warn anybody? They,
I also saw, I think I don't know if it's their version of like chief of police out there or something along those lines, but he ended up resigning. But in the beginning of that, he was being heavily questioned by the citizens, by reporters over there, that why the alert systems weren't going off, why the people weren't being told about, you know, an impending. I think a storm had came about, right? Wasn't there a storm that had came about, like a windstorm or something like that? And then all of a sudden, all these wildfires were just popping up like everywhere, and then a highway of cars were just looked like they would just melted to the ground. And it reminded me of during the height of the pandemic when there was those wildfires out in California, which had the similar circumstances. You have a row, you have like these mass rows of just, burnt homes, trees, cars, and then on the other side, unaffected, which is, it's very strange. It's not really how wildfires act. So what's going on?
I don't think there's anything wrong with asking questions, but
no, I don't
nowadays get labeled a conspiracy theorist.
Or they'll say, oh, this is misinformation.
Yeah, I didn't even make a claim. I just asked a question.
Yeah.
So,
You can't ask questions. Don't ask questions. Just be
illegal.
a good obedient citizen.
Call the thought police.
Go to work, pay your taxes, consume shit that you don't need.
Eat the food with the chemicals
eat
in
the
it.
bugs. Eat the bugs.
I will never eat the bugs.
Eat the bugs. You got to eat the bugs.
Never.
Klaus Schwab says you got to eat the bugs. And he says you got to live in these
pods.
the pods, the high-rise pods. He wants you to be angry. He wants you to be angry all the time.
I am here to spread light and joy.
Yeah.
And ask questions.
Ask questions and spread truth. So going into that, going back to the child trafficking, obviously this is not news to anyone. It's not new news, but it seems to be new news to the public, like the normies, I'll say. And it's nothing against that. I think people are way too distracted. We've been way too distracted, and a lot of this information that should be privy to us isn't, or to the average person that just goes to work and handles their families and just goes about their business. They don't think, or maybe they're in denial to think that politicians and mega corporations may be behind a lot of the missing children that are going missing and trafficked worldwide, not just globally, but also in the U.S., also in Rhode Island, also in the New England area. So
it blew my mind when I found out that 73% of states are safer than Rhode Island when it comes to child abductions. 73% of states. That means we're one of the worst in the country, and you never, ever, ever see it get talked about in the news. You never hear about children going missing. I mean, sometimes you'll get like the Amber Alerts, and you'll hear that a child is missing. You never get an update on if they were found safe. Nothing. Like, we're just living in the dark when it comes to these innocent, precious souls, and it's really scary.
Yeah, that's a good point. There is never an update. Usually there's never an update on whether or not that kid was found or maybe it was a false alarm type thing or whatever the hell whatever it is. And I think there's a problem with that because now just when the alerts go off, it's almost like a desensitization of it. And it's like, oh, it's another Amber Alert,
I mean, even me, I was almost abducted when I was a child. I was walking home from the park with my brother, but I was walking way ahead of him. And right around the corner from where I live, like 30 seconds from where I live, this creepy man pulled up on the side of me in his car. He took out a disposable camera. He took a picture of me and developed it, looked at the picture. He looked at me. He said, it's like I died and went to heaven. And that moment, the fear I felt in my soul was just unreal. Like, not only are you a creepy pedophile taking a picture of me, I'm also a Christian, so that was like a total attack on my innocence. Like, you're insulting me, you're insulting my privacy, and you're insulting my religion. Like, what kind of a sicko says that? And I truly believe to this day the only reason I survived was because my big brother saw what was happening. He ran and he chased the guy away. But I can't help but wonder, like, where would I be today if my big brother didn't save my life that day?
Right.
How many other children did this guy get to? Is he still out there in the world with that picture of me? Like, it's just, my heart goes out to all the children, and we really need more people to stand up for them and more people to talk about it and more people to get actively involved in their communities, Like, if you see a strange man with a child that might not be his child, they look like they're scared of him, like, ask questions.
Sure.
Don't just look the other way. Don't just act blind. you could save a child's life just by saying something and speaking up, you know. So
there's things that also happen in like from what the videos that I've seen, mostly like in Walmart parking lots, mostly in like bigger cities, where you'll see an individual. Usually it's they're usually like 2 or 3 guys or whatever, and they're scoping out this family. Excuse me. And it's usually not. It just doesn't always revolve around like a child going missing, but sometimes, usually it's like a woman. It's women and children that usually are the abductee victims in those scenarios. But what they do is that they'll be amongst in the parking lot, scoping out these women, not paying attention to what they're doing. You know, they're just handling. You know, they're just going into their car or whatever, putting their groceries in or whatever, and they'll have a car pull up, and then they'll just rush these people inside. I've seen videos of it. It's kind of weird. And I don't know what the updates on. I don't know if this is happening. I don't know where in the country that it's happening, but
I've heard stories on like if you go in local Facebook groups, it happens all the time. It'd be like, oh, a creepy man like followed me all the way to my car,
right?
And I had to run back into Walmart and get an employee to help me and escort me to my car.
Yeah.
So it is happening here.
Yeah, 100%. There's tons of video of different creepy situations that are going on, and not only that, there's also a lot of this stuff leads to money.
God's children are not for sale.
Right. I want to talk about that movie Sound of Freedom. Have you both seen it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw it twice.
There's a lot of controversy just with the movie itself, other than the fact that it's about child trafficking. I did a podcast about this not too long ago, and there's some information behind it that isn't privy in the actual movie or what's his name, Tim Ballard. He hasn't spoken up about certain things that I think the public is a little weird. They don't know his full intention, and I kind of get it to a point, because there's a specific billionaire that I'm trying to remember off the top of my memory right now, but I know that his son is a chairman of BlackRock, and he was and his father, Carlos Slim, that's his name. Are you familiar with the name Carlos Slim? So he's a Mexican billionaire national. And apparently he has ties with cartels. Apparently he also has ties with child trafficking himself. And apparently he's attached to funding the actual movie, or funding the executive producer, which I believe is his son. Can't remember his name off top right now.
About this. I'm kind of wary when it comes to stuff like this, because there's a whole entire list of people that helped fund that movie.
Sure.
You know? So
absolutely.
Are we gonna bash the whole entire thing because of one person? But I'm also happy that those facts are coming to light, because that's how you wake people up and inform them. You know. And it's like, did they know that he was involved with that?
It's possible.
You know?
Possible that they didn't. Sure. Yeah.
It's also possible that they might not have. So.
Right.
I mean, the facts that I see are a whole lot more people are talking about the topic now.
Yeah.
Which I believe is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
But I do think you should always question everything.
Sure.
Because
you want the big players to be held accountable just as much as the smaller cells that are doing all this shit. Go ahead.
Well, the problem in Rhode Island is when you try to raise awareness about certain things, there are people in Rhode Island. Like, for instance, when we walked by Kennedy Plaza, there were people yelling, fuck Trump, fuck Trump, fuck Trump. There wasn't not one Trump flag in that rally.
Right.
There wasn't, it said God's children's not for sale, American flags, stuff like that. It was showing unity, and we were there fighting for the children. And that's what the rally was about. But there are people who see the American flag and they get triggered and automatically assume that it was a Trump rally.
Right.
No, it wasn't a Trump rally. That's why I just think it's insane how people literally say on Facebook, and I'm not going to say no names, but there was someone in a group, I think it was last night, who literally said rallies don't do anything for Rhode Island. The vaccine mandate rally may not have stopped the mandate, but it brought awareness.
Mm-hmm.
There was a reporter, Pat Ford, who said he hasn't seen a rally like that since the Tea Party days.
Mm.
You know what I mean? There was 3,000 people fighting for their rights during the vaccine mandate rallies. You know what I mean? And we had only 50 people at the God's Children Not For Sale rally. But we made such a huge impact. You know, we had one individual who came from the side of Kennedy Plaza and joined us.
Mm-hmm.
And this individual had their suitcase and had their toiletry bag with them. And they marched with us from Kennedy Plaza all the way to the State House. I will let Kara elaborate more when I'm finished about it, because I feel like she connected more with the individual than, you know, males did, and, you know, and all of that. But for people to say that rallies don't make a difference, if it can change one person's life, it made a difference in someone's life. You know, we work hard on these rallies. Whether it's 8 people, 10 people, 25 people, 50 people, or even 3 people. We did a rally, I think it was like 3 or 4 months ago, and only 9 people showed up, and it was in the pouring rain. And we stood there, and, you know, we fought for our cause, and we still brought awareness to the people that were passing through. But for someone to literally be a coward and say rallies don't do nothing for the state of Rhode Island is a liar. And it kind of insults me because I fight my ass off for the state of Rhode Island, and I don't get paid. I don't get Republican money. I don't get Democrat money. I don't get money from any political party. I don't do it just for a show. When I fight for the Second Amendment rallies at the State House, I don't get paid for that either. And I led one of the most hypest rallies for the Second Amendment at the State House, just for everyone to turn around and shit on me because I'm not a Republican. But that's another story for another day. You know what I mean? Even a Facebook group that supports the Second Amendment and free speech kicked me out of the group, kicked other individuals who supported me out of the group, but they support free speech, which is bullshit. But, you know, like I said, we're getting off a little bit topic here, but it just goes to show that people only support Republican things in this state. You know what I mean? If it's a Republican-held rally, they'll fill it up. You know what I mean? You'll see people there. Oh, you know, if it's a Democrat rally, they have thousands there in seconds. You know what I mean? But when it comes to not a political party, just an individual trying to make a change in the state of Rhode Island, the red and the blue shit on it because it has nothing to do with them. And it just goes to show how Rhode Island is not using their own mindset, they're controlled. You know what I mean? If someone from the Democrat Party wants to throw an abortion rally, the whole State House in the back is full. If someone wants to throw a little get-together for the Republicans, it gets full. But when an individual who's literally trying to make a change gets 50 people, 25 people, 75 people, and you know what I mean? You'll never see another rally like you did on October 1st in the state of Rhode Island when it comes to fighting against mandates, freedom, free speech, and all of that. You'll never see it. And if you do see it, it's because the people who are there throwing it are getting paid. And that's the sad part, is that people fight for freedom.
You mean like paid protesters?
No, yeah, paid money. People who are hosting it get paid. You will never see an individual throw a rally if it doesn't benefit them. I invited every single representative, every single senator. I invited the governor. I invited Sabina. I invited every single one through email 3 or 4 times, and not one showed up. Not one showed up. And why is that? It doesn't make sense to me. If you're for the children, you should be there fighting for the children.
You're talking about August 26th.
This last
you invited
every elected
every
official.
elected
like,
official.
Not one.
Like
not one. And I was there. Not one showed up.
No, not one. And it's crazy. And we even have a representative right now who was affected by the vaccine mandates. And You know, his name is Tony DeLuca, good guy. But
yeah, I heard of him. Yeah.
My issue is, you were affected by the vaccine mandates. You should be fighting against it. You should be trying to get people compensation. You should be trying to put bills so it never happens again. Mike Chippendale put a bill in, you know, against mandates and trying to get it to where it'll probably never happen again. But we all testified. But after that, we haven't heard nothing. You know, okay, here you go. I tried, and, you know, they shut it down and held it for further study. But we're not going to hear about it ever again after that. You know, DeLuca ran solely on he's against vaccine mandates, he's for freedom. He's for all of these things. But he will not do nothing unless the Republican Party allows him, because he's got to follow the party line. And I'm not trying to knock him. He's a good guy. But sometimes you may be part of the party, but you got to go against party lines to get your voice out there. You got to fight for what you believe in. Patricia Morgan does it all the time. They hate her. The Republican Party hates her.
She's blacklisted.
They all sit together. Right? And then she has her own little spot somewhere else. And she's a great person. She showed up to Freedom Fest. Not one other elected official showed up, but she did. And it just goes to show that politics of Rhode Island is pay to play. Nobody does nothing for nothing. They won't fight for you unless it benefits them.
As far as rallies not mattering goes, I believe that they matter so much because the first step is raising awareness. And we did have that girl who joined us and walked with us, and I kind of got the vibe that that might have been her only escape from the bad people she was hanging around in Kennedy Plaza. And she even got on the microphone. It took her a few minutes. You could tell it was something she was really struggling with doing. And she got on the microphone very softly. She said, "God's children are not for sale." And you could tell that she was about to burst into tears. And that was such an impactful moment for me, because you could tell that that day we did help her and we did change her mind and we did offer kindness to her. So for somebody to say that that rally didn't make a difference, that rally made a difference in that girl's life that day. She went out to eat with us and everything. We gave her a ride safely back to where she would be safe, you know? So they do make a difference. And it's sad that we don't have more independent thinkers in the state of Rhode Island. It's sad that we have Republicans that don't break party lines. We have Democrats that won't break party lines. Sometimes you have to break party lines and think for yourself to make an actual change, you know, and show people that you're not a coward and that you actually can think for yourself. And I just hate this this whole like hive mindset that everybody, it's like everybody in Rhode Island's under a trance, you know? Like, we've been doing this for 3 years straight. Not once have we been paid for anything. And I think that that matters. That alone matters. Because other people don't do things unless they get paid to do them.
I think, and also like politicians not being able to, like, say a Republican, from what you're saying, if they won't cross party lines, they're forgetting the fact that they work for the people. If they're going to put themselves in that position, they work for the people. So you're obligated to cross any line if it's beneficial for the people. That, in my opinion, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, I hate the fact that we have this dominating two-party system. I just don't think we should have a party system, in my personal opinion. I think if you're going to do some change, either it be for a county or your state or the country, your party is the people. You're the people party. Exactly. That's what you are. You're not a Democrat. You're not a Republican. You're not an independent. You're not a Green Party. You're not. You are the party for the people, and that's where you should be. I am highly against lobbying. I don't think lobbying should ever exist in political campaigns, and I know lobbying is heavy in Rhode Island as well as in Washington. I do not think that corporations should be involved at all with any type of deal making, any type of none of that. All of it should be grassrooted funding from the people, obviously from taxpayers or whatever. But you know, these people aren't going out and they're making deals with corporations. They're making deals with business people. They're making deals with Washington, for that matter. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a huge disappointment, and it's also insulting to the citizens that live here in Rhode Island, or the citizens that live in any parts of the country in their own states where the politics won't cross their party lines. You don't have party lines.
So many times I've heard elected officials reach out to us and say, hey, we really support what you're doing. We wish we could be there, but we're not allowed.
What do you mean not allowed?
Exactly. What does that even mean?
Do they explain what they mean by not allowed? Like, what does that mean, not allowed?
I'm going to assume that they're afraid of being blacklisted, like, for example, like Pat Morgan has been. She's a Republican. She's showed up to our events. But like Paul said, she's treated like trash by the rest of her party.
What's her name? What is it?
Patricia Morgan.
Patricia Morgan. Okay. And she's a Republican or?
Yeah, Republican.
Republican. What do you know her district?
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure she's a representative.
Though. Okay. So she's the only one that's.
She says all the things that everybody else is afraid to say. She's come to many of our events, and she just she has a backbone, unlike most politicians in Rhode Island. And I hate that our politics is pay to play. That really, really.
Yeah.
I really hate that. We saw that with Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos, who's running for Congress right now. She paid a bunch of people to go out and get her signatures for her. And then a bunch of the signatures ended up being from dead people. They ended up being fraudulent. It created this whole scandal. Well, if you didn't have to pay people to go gather your signatures and actually went and gathered them yourself, maybe you wouldn't be facing that issue.
Right.
Like when Paul ran for governor, me and him had 9 days to go gather 1,000 signatures while working full-time jobs.
And why 9 days?
And we still got it done by ourselves without having to pay anybody. We had a little bit of help from a few people.
Sure.
But for the most part, it was me and Paul who got all the signatures. And that was like the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Do they give you, does the state set you a time frame?
Yes.
Like they set you 9 days, you have 9 days?
You have 9 days to get 1,000 signatures. And then.
And what, but for what though? Like for, what's the time frame on?
You got to get 9 days to get the signatures.
Like when can you get signatures? When can you start getting signatures to put yourself
like
on their platform?
Like you got to do it. Let's say, like, it would be like, let's say if there was an election next month, they would give you from like the 4th until the 11th. You know what I mean?
I see. Okay.
And you got that time period to get 1,000 signatures. Now, for an individual who's running independent, you know, it was me, Kara, Paula, Camille, a couple other people who helped. You know, and we had to drive from house to house, even if it was for 3 signatures. Drove to Chepachet for 3 signatures. Then we would go to, you know, Smithfield for 3. We drove everywhere.
We didn't pay for our signatures, though.
No.
We went out and got them ourselves. Like, everybody should have to.
You had to talk to everybody and say, hey, this is what I'm going in for.
And that's the issue in Rhode Island. You're allowed to pay to play. I don't think that should be allowed. I don't think you should be able to pay a bunch of people to go gather your signatures for you.
Right. You should be out there doing it yourself.
Exactly.
You should be talking to the people. Set up a fucking event.
And that's what we
did.
And
talk to the people, you know what I mean?
And I don't know if people know this. There were certain Republican people that were running for representative, and I even helped them get signatures.
Yep.
I've even held events with them to get signatures.
Their party wouldn't even help them, and we did.
Wow.
You know, so I did that, and
they haven't. Did these same people end up supporting you in any way? Have they?
A lot of people who say they supported me. Oh yeah, we support you. We got your back. We got your back. But then, you know, when it came time to support me, they
nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found, and basically said, well, you know, Ashley Callis is our savior. She's here. You know, thank you for all you did, but now fuck you. You know, and that's basically what happened. And
we supported him for 2 years, and then when Ashley Callis was running for governor as a Republican, they said, oh, you have to drop out of the race for her. Oh, you have to drop out of the race for her. Oh, you have to drop out of the race for her. He's been running for governor for like 2 years straight.
Telling you to drop out of the race?
Yeah. for this rando that just showed up out of nowhere.
Interesting.
And like,
and then when I didn't drop out of the race, there was people swearing at me.
Was that the blonde lady?
Yeah.
Oh,
People swearing at me.
and she's nowhere to be found now. But guess who's here to be found? Still.
Interesting. And wasn't she like? Well, I mean, according to the media anyway, she was looked like that she was going to be favored as the Republican primary, right?
Yeah. And she was favored, and that's another.
But she came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And another funny thing as far as the Republican primary goes, I wasn't part of it, and I ran independent. But it was like.
Is it because you? So how does that? And also, how does that work? Is it because you're an independent? You weren't allowed to be in the primary?
No,
like what?
When you're independent, you don't primary nobody.
At all?
No.
You can't be on the stage.
Oh, that's a whole different story.
That's a whole nother ball game.
But the primary part of it, it's whoever's running Democrat, they gotta
That is backwards.
I remember one time they wouldn't let Paul debate because he didn't have $50,000 in his campaign account. What kind of excuse is that?
Is that lawful? Is that a lawful claim? Like, do you have to have $50,000 in your bank account?
Apparently, anything goes in Rhode Island.
No, it's not lawful.
Right. I mean, I'm saying, are they just saying that? Like, if that's a lawful claim,
I felt like,
or if it's an unlawful claim, rather, I think isn't that a civil rights violation? Isn't that a?
Because they're a newscast, they can make their own rules, I guess. You know what I mean? And
the news said that.
Channel 12 held theirs.
I think that's a civil rights violation.
They wouldn't let me. Channel 10 wouldn't let me. Channel 6 didn't hold one.
They don't like independence in Rhode Island.
And then URI, they held one, right? But at first, it was supposed to be me, McKee, Callis.
I'm actually pissed off that I'm getting this news fresh right now. Wish I heard about this sooner.
Me, Callis, McKee, Elijah Gizzarelli, and Zachary Hurwitz. We were all supposed to be on the stage to debate at the same time. Well, 2 days before the debate, I got an email saying, well, we're not going to let you on stage with McKee and Callis, but we're going to give you 30 minutes with you and the 2 other independents. Now, I don't care what anyone says. I know it's because McKee's afraid of me. You know what I mean? Because I was going to trash that man on stage, and he had no answers for anything I was going to throw at him. So he
never has anything to say.
Exactly.
He never has anything to say.
So now I
Do you
guarantee.
check his Twitter? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
So now I guarantee that he literally said, well, if you put Paul Rianna Jr. on the stage with me, I'm not attending. And I know that's what happened. You know what I mean? So they allowed them two to have, their hour and a half debate. And then give us maybe like 29, 25 minutes. And it just goes to show that the independent candidates are always held back. They're not allowed to get their stuff out there, and that's why it's a two-party system in the state of Rhode Island.
If you had $100,000 in your campaign account, they'd let you, though.
Right.
Pay to play.
That pay to play shit. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The lobbying stuff, all of that stuff, money does not have anything to do with getting getting the people on the right course of action. I'm actually very upset that
debates,
that actually occurred.
9, 10 people on stage. When they were just telling us, "Oh, we can't have a crowded stage." Like,
I wish I knew about this, brother. I really did.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy. And
the thing that I found you by chance because I saw this guy. I wanted to know who the hell this guy was walking around the streets and saying some stuff that I liked what you were saying, and then I started seeing some of the stage presence that you had with some of these other candidates. And I didn't know who you were debating at the time, but it wasn't who I thought that I would want to be debated, which would be Dan McKee or Raimondo. But Raimondo obviously went to Secretary of Treasury. Was that a position? Is that in Washington? Commerce. Thank you. And
she trashed our whole entire state and then got a federal promotion.
Yep, unbelievable.
All the kids that went missing in DCYF under her administration never talked about anymore.
Yep. And so what exactly do you think that Dan McKee would be afraid of debating about?
Well, I've been chasing this man around for years.
I know you've been. You told me here. You were here last time. You were telling me some stuff, but
Like I chased him at drugstores. I chased him, at his house. I chased him everywhere that man went. Paul Rianna was at, and he didn't want to debate me because he would have to answer for the vaccine mandate. He would have to answer on why certain individuals get more rights than other individuals. He would have to answer on why he feels like it's okay to control the freedoms of all Rhode Islanders. And he didn't want to answer that. MAGA Man went up to him. He was at a parade. I think it was in East Greenwich. And he went up to McKee and he said, Governor McKee, will you debate Paul Rianna? And McKee said, if they allow him on the stage, I will debate Paul Rianna.
That's how he knew it. It was
So
all
that's how
planned
he
out.
knew they weren't going to let me on the stage.
uh-huh.
But he said, if they allow him to get on the stage, I will debate him.
He knew they weren't going to allow him on the stage.
Yeah.
If you watch that video, which will be posted again later so everyone can view it. If you watch that video, you can see McKee's body language go from, hey, how are you, to fuck you for even bringing up Paul Rianna's name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Every single time we've had a rally or a protest and he's seen me, the security is so heavy, it's unbelievable. And I've never threatened to attack, hurt, slap, kick that man. Never. The only thing I want is every single Rhode Islander's voice to be heard that was affected by the mandates. And then they tried to offer me a 10-minute phone call. A 10-minute phone call.
Could you record it?
I'm going to explain to you. So they offered me the 10-minute phone call, right? So I emailed Lexi, which is the one who was supposed to, hold the phone call. And it never happened. The phone call never happened. And so we seen her at another rally with him. I said, I'm still waiting for my 10-minute phone call. She goes, oh, I told you to email me. I said, I did email you. Do you want the proof? Never heard nothing about it again. She never brought it up. Our emails continued to be ignored. And more than just me emailing, it was Kara emailing and other individuals that kept emailing. And even people who were affected by the mandates were emailing like, we want our voice to be heard. We held a town hall at the State House. There was healthcare workers, people who were affected, and they gave speeches. We invited, at the time, Nicole Alexander Scott. She was head of, the Department of Health.
Yeah.
We invited McKee, Sabina, every representative, every
Super
senator.
creep.
We invited them all. Not one showed up, so we set the chairs for them to be in the front, and we had stuff typed out with their names on it. They didn't show up.
You set this up.
Yeah, we set this up.
At the State House.
Yep.
Awesome.
Not one person showed up.
None of them showed up.
Not one.
That's very telling.
There was a mom with her baby who spoke on how it affected her. There was
Jesus Christ. Her baby?
Yeah. And so many other people that got affected spoke up and all of that. And it just goes to show that people who fight against the establishment are wrong. That's what they think in their head. They think we're wrong, so they don't want to hear us. So if you fight against the establishment, you're wrong. You don't get your voice to be heard. If you don't follow the line,
You're blacklisted.
you don't mean nothing to the state of Rhode Island. Then I held, you know how, after they do, it's like a budget thing or, not a budget. When you're elected, you get to do a state of the state address. So Dan McKee held his state of state address. I forgot who it was who responded. I think it was Jester De La Cruz. I'm not sure. The Republicans responded. So I did a state of state address from an independent candidate side. And you wouldn't believe it. So many people from the State House that worked in there were looking over the balcony, watching in, coming around and watch. And
You look up and all you see is them just lying.
and everyone's
the
just
rotunda.
watching. Some clapped, some were, like supportive, and but they couldn't be supportive to where it was visualized.
Yeah, they couldn't actually come to where we were.
Right. They couldn't be on camera.
They were just like on the balconies.
And then
looking.
even the Capitol Police were like, "Oh, we support your message," but we want our jobs, so we gotta.
What the fuck, man?
You gotta be secret about it.
Exactly, and it's crazy, and it's like, how do you even?
What happened to that woman's baby?
That woman's baby? It's the baby's doing great, and I think she's back to work.
But what? Do we know?
No, the baby wasn't sick or nothing. She was just, she had to bring her child because.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought maybe you were saying like somehow maybe she had to take the vaccine or something that affected her baby or something.
I think afterwards, I am not 100% sure that she had to take the vaccine. I'm not sure, but it was after the baby was born.
Okay.
She stood the line as long as she could, and I get it. I would never bash anyone who had to take the vaccine because they had to support their families. I just think it's shitty that the government forced them to take the vaccine to support their families.
Yeah, I've got friends that it's either injured or it's definitely changed their lives a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't want to. Mostly all of them are involved in the medical field. I know one suffers a lot of headaches, a lot of other ailments and stuff like that. I've been wanting to get her on here to talk about it, but she's also concerned about her job and on talking about that. I told her I can make it as anonymous as possible. There's some other friends that had some internal changes to them. And then there's stories that are going across the world, going across the nation about this stuff, with the vaccine, having it injured people and taking people's lives, or some people have taken it and have been fine so far. But
my mother passed away 2 weeks after she got her 5th COVID vaccine.
Jesus.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Why was she even allowed to get that many?
Right.
Like, there's no oversight.
You
have CVS. They still have signs all over their store. Like,
she took 5.
They
Jesus
brag
Christ.
about how fast they vaccinate people, which means there's no oversight on it. And it's like, I just can't believe what we've allowed to happen.
Is there a reason why she ended up taking 5, or is...
Because she trusted what the government and the media told her.
Right.
They brainwashed her into believing that's what she needed to do or she would die.
Right.
That's what she needed to do or she doesn't care about her loved ones. And it just breaks my heart because I, from day one, told her, like, I feel like you're a ticking time bomb. I feel like it's only a matter of time until you're gone. And, like, it's like my worst nightmare came to life right in front of my eyes, and there was nothing I could do to stop it because she trusted them. She trusted them to have her best intention in mind. She trusted the facts that they were telling her when really they were just lies, and it was all about money. And I'm somebody who believes that money is the root of all evil, and I feel like crimes against humanity have been committed. I mean, just a few days ago, you had the president, Joe Biden. He did a press conference saying that he's requesting funding from Congress for a new vaccine that works. And when I heard him say those words, that works, that is an admission that all of this was for absolutely nothing besides money. You had Rhode Island. We stayed under a state of emergency for over 1,000 days. And at first, the governor justified it with fear-mongering, like, oh, it's because of COVID, it's because of COVID. I directly started calling him out on Twitter, in person, everywhere, saying, you're lying about the reason why we're still under a state of emergency. It's for money. People deserve the truth. Tell people the truth. And then he finally, 900 days in, decided to admit, oh, it's because we need federal funding. So we were kept under a state of emergency for over 1,000 days. That's never, ever, ever happened in history before. And it was all for money.
And control.
And it's like, my mom's life is gone now because you wanted to make more money. And I can only imagine how many other people there are. I've talked to hundreds of people. I see thousands of people online. There's probably millions of cases where people are getting neurological disorders, they're dropping dead, and it's just not being reported. It's like
their lives
it's like
are completely
we're living
changed.
in an upside down world where lies are reported as truth, and the truth gets you labeled a conspiracy theorist. And it just like, it makes me sick to my stomach. It truly does.
Are you familiar with Agenda 21? Agenda 21 details the assimilation of society, specifically America, specifically the West, through means of healthcare, and during epidemics, they detail epidemics, they detail vaccines. Agenda 21 is the pretext of this. Now I'm going based off of the interpretation of reading everything. Anyone can go look up the Agenda 21 documents. It's by the UN, United Nations. United Nations is behind it, the World Economic Forum, WHO. The Agenda 21 then forms into Agenda 2030, which we're about 6 years away from.
Oh, I've been raising awareness about that. We had Dan McKee hosted 13 community meetings for literally our agenda.
Yeah, RI 20. Yes, yeah.
We showed up to
I just
a bunch
posted
of them.
that today.
We protested against them. We spoke at them. We did everything we could to raise awareness. You know who didn't raise any awareness about those 13 community discussion meetings? No Republicans raised awareness about it. No Democrats raised awareness about it. And I have Republican elected officials bashing me for my efforts when they were nowhere to be found. They complain every day about the leftists and the leftism that's taking over this state, and not a single one of them showed up to any of those 13 2030 meetings. And you should have seen the stuff they were discussing there. And it's like, I believe that Rhode Island's on track. They're going to try to implement smart cities here. In Oxford, England, like a year or two ago, they started putting up all these surveillance cameras. They call them traffic cameras, saying that would help with crime rates. And 2 months later, Oxford was the first city in the world to implement a smart city. And they turned those cameras into citizen surveillance. And they have these 15-minute smart cities where you can't travel outside a 15-minute perimeter. And most people don't know this about Rhode Island, but we've had hundreds of flock cameras going up. And I keep trying to tell people, we're next. Like, they're telling us they're putting these cameras up to reduce crime. It's so much more sinister than that, the agenda that they're trying to implement. And even in Hawaii, it's September 1st now, so sometime this month, they're having a meeting to turn Hawaii into a 15-minute smart city. The same place that just burned down. Immediately, realtors and other wealthy people were already trying to land grab it from these people who have lost their homes, that may not have had insurance, that may be desperate for, rebuilding. That they've been offered to buy the land that they had, the plot of land that they had, and all of that. It's disgusting. It was an immediate land grab. That's what that was. That's 100%. That's what that was. To put it in perspective for anyone out there that can look this up, and you can look this up. If you look up the Amazon fires, which were going on, they're still going on. There's still fires that are going on. The Brazilian government at the time were accused and even found that they were setting fires in the Amazon. The reason why they were setting fires in the Amazon, because they're trying to build tourist attraction places, right? They're trying to eliminate some land, get rid of that land, clear it out, and they're gonna build on it. You can look that up. That's what's happening in the Amazon. One of the last. You've ever heard of the last rainforest? That's our last rainforest. You get rid of that, you're probably taking the lungs away from the earth. So they're trying to do that. Billionaires are trying to do that, and they've been successful on doing that so far.
So put that in perspective. Why does that relate to Maui? Why does that relate to all the other wildfires? Because if you look at all of the wildfires that are happening, especially the one in California and now in Maui, and you look at all the real estate agents that have been going out there and say, hey, I'll buy your land. I know you're desperate. You don't have insurance. Do you have insurance? Did you get insurance? And these people are like, no, I didn't have home insurance. I didn't have land insurance or whatever. Well, I'll offer this for you, get you out of debt. You go buy something somewhere else.
I think they're totally preying on the vulnerabilities.
Oh yeah, of course.
And it was the plan from day one. It looks like,
What do you think? Also, because there's also some stuff that are going around about how these fires have been starting. Not just Maui, but how there's thousands of fires going on right now in globally. I think I did a live about a week or two ago. I think there's like 1,500 or 1,500 fires that are going on in the U.S. alone.
I don't think it's because of climate change.
I don't think so either.
I think some of them are because of arsonists.
Yes.
And this might not be the case, but we do have direct energy weapons that are capable of literally laser beaming towns away.
Mm-hmm. Conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, I'm like,
but we've had the technology.
I don't know for sure that's the case, but we do have that technology.
We have the technology. The Navy, at least for at least 10 years that we know about, we have the technology they use it to wipe out drones, or at least they tested it upon drones. Yes, we have the capability to do it. It's not science fiction anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Trust the government.
Yeah, trust the government. Trust what they tell you. Pay your taxes. Be a good citizen. Go to work.
Be a good little slave to society.
Yep. Get up every morning. Go do what you have to do. Don't question anything. Be a good citizen. Listen, all of these things that have been occurring, I'm just checking the chat real quick. Sharon Clark. Yeah, direct energy weapons. Yep. What Kara said. So I mean we went from child trafficking into this, but I think all of it relates to a point because
it's all connected.
It is all
some
connected.
Point or another.
It's an attack
if
on
you
humanity.
if you follow the money, absolutely, we're at war.
If you follow the money, like Kara says, or if you just open your eyes and realize what's going on in Rhode Island, the 2030 agenda, everyone thinks, it's got all these nice little things and. They put this little
housing and
artwork on it and all of that. But the 2030 agenda is just to control you.
And to make you depend on the government.
Now, when we protested the 2030 agenda, we actually did it over here at Central Falls High School.
Central Falls, yeah.
We did it in Central Falls High School, and we got kicked out. We got kicked out.
I yelled at them.
They had the Rhode Island State Police there.
And they escorted you out.
And they escorted us out. At first, we were being loud and, voicing our opinion. And Dan McKee was like, if you don't be quiet, we're going to kick you out.
Well, the thing that really set him over the edge was I looked at the governor. I said, Governor McKee, are you going to stay this time? Because we had been to a few of the 2030 agenda meetings. And every single time he would speak, and then they would rush him out of the building, even though he said it was a community discussion. If it's such a community discussion, then why are you being smuggled out of the building right after you talk about it? So I looked at him, I said, Governor McKee, are you going to stay this time? And he was like, oh, please be respectful. I said, I understand. Just please answer my question. Are you going to stay this time? And he wouldn't answer the question. And then the state police swarm around me, and they're like, you need to settle down or we're going to have to escort you out. I said, I should be able to ask my governor a question. I just want to know, are you going to stay this time?
You pay his fucking salary.
Are you going to stay this time and listen to the citizens? If this is such a community discussion, then listen to us. Yeah. Listen to our concerns. Let us ask questions. Nope.
And what he did was, he stood that time, you know why? Because we got thrown out.
Yep. That was the only one he stayed the whole entire meeting because
he knew that you guys weren't going to...
We were part of a group called the Rhode Island Freedom Fighters, and we would always show up. And the only time
Shout out to them. I'm in that group too.
Was when we got escorted out. That's the only meeting he stayed for. Every other meeting we showed up to, he immediately got smuggled out of the building after he spoke.
And in Westerly, he did the speak and run too, but we followed him outside. Yep. And so it just goes to show that the governor doesn't represent the people. He represents his 2030 agenda. And, you know, he's a piece of shit, in my opinion. You know what I mean? When you take jobs away from people, because that's the only way you can push your vaccine agenda, you're a piece of shit. And when we protested at his house, you know, he said, I'm glad that the state police was there so me and my family were safe. So what was it? Was you in the house and you heard us? Or you got smuggled away? Because there was 2 different reportings. 1, they said he wasn't even home. 2, he said he's glad the state police was there to protect him. First off, we weren't violent. We were praying.
Praying?
Yeah, we were literally praying. And then we had to walk 1.5 miles from a baseball field in Cumberland all the way down near, I forgot what the name of it was. It Phantom Farms? It was some type of farm in Cumberland. And we had to walk all the way down to the street.
He lives in Cumberland?
Yes. And then
we marched 27 minutes.
27 minutes to get to his house. And then they blocked the street off, the state police.
Which is not legal to do that. You can't block a street off.
For non-emergency reasons, yeah.
Yeah, so we just walked right around them, and we went. And then the state police had asked an individual, who's in charge of this rally? And the individual said, it was me, but nothing happened.
And they said,
next time say we all are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And
don't
then
ever
he pointed
don't
it out.
don't
He was like, he's right over there.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Don't point anybody out. If you're genuinely a part of a rally like that, you say we all are.
Yeah, exactly.
Not one person. That's
Exactly.
how they get rid of individuals like that. You probably didn't know or whatever.
Yeah,
But
so they did that. Oh, he knew. But anyway, you know, he knew.
okay.
But we're not going to get into that.
Roger
But-
that.
So they
we
did.
got to be careful of shit like that too. But
Exactly. So we ended up marching down his street, and there was a not undercover. It was McKee's bodyguard. Pete Filomeno was his name.
Dressed in plain clothes.
hitman type.
Probably, but
Yeah.
he knew who we were. We knew who he was. Not at that time, really. So, but he was in the crowd marching with us undercover wise, and he ended up bumping into one of the people. So the kid was like, "Oh, who are you? Who are you?" And then boom, all hell broke loose. 2 people got arrested. All of this. I went to the Rhode Island State Police Barracks. I made a formal complaint for a civil rights complaint and a excessive force complaint. The people who got arrested, they both beat the case somewhat. I don't know the full details. But it's just crazy to me how
Shout outs to them.
they're doing everything to stop us from getting our voice heard, even to cause, you know, that whole confusion and disruption and, you know, getting 2 people arrested and all of that. And one of the people who got arrested was, I think he was in the Army or the Marines, one of the 2, but he's definitely, you know, part of the military. So it was just crazy to me. You know what I mean?
A veteran?
Yeah, but I think he still serves. I don't know the whole part of it, but you know, he was a great guy, and you know, he just got caught in a shitty situation. Now, so after we did that, the next day I think it was the Woonsocket Autumn Fest. So I was marching in that parade as an independent candidate for governor, and Governor Dan McKee was there. You would think there was an assassin there to kill McKee on how much security he had. And I was just standing there.
What's he afraid of?
So Pete Filomeno walks up to me, right? And he goes, I hope there's no hard feelings for what happened. And I'm like in my head, like, fuck you, guy. Like, I know if I say something here that you'll probably try to arrest me. So whatever. When we went to the state police barracks, we made a formal complaint and all of that. And now Pete Filomeno works 3rd shift. He doesn't work with the governor anymore. And they had a female bodyguard. When we were holding a food drive for the nurses in healthcare who lost their job, because we had a food pantry. It was called Freedom Food Pantry. It was open for like 2 or 3 months. Now it's just a food pantry for the general public. But we had a Freedom Food Pantry, and she came outside and she bought like $100 worth of gift cards. This is the Dan McKee's like driver bodyguard. Bought $100 worth of gift cards, gave him to me and said, "You can't tell anyone I did this, but here you go. I support your cause." She lost her job. She's nowhere to be found. She doesn't drive him anymore, and it just goes to show: was it because she donated to us, or she felt compassion for individuals who lost their jobs? We'll never know. I don't know where she is. I don't know if
you don't know where she is.
Yeah, I haven't seen her, haven't heard from her. You know what I mean? I didn't expect to get a phone call from her, but
Right. Is there a way to contact her? Do you know?
I don't want to ask any questions because who knows what can happen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it just goes to show that even our law enforcement that represents us, some of them are against us because they just follow, what the government tells them.
Just doing my job.
Exactly. And
that's what the Nazis said.
Yeah, well,
there's a lot of good ones too, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of good cops, and
Yes, sure.
But they can't really voice
but you know
support
what?
for us
that's
either
that's
because they get punished.
Well, that's the thing. Does that make them a good cop if they don't voice and they risk their job? What would you rather? If there is a police officer that does happen to hear this, what would you rather be remembered for? Doing your job that's against the American people, that's against Rhode Islanders, that's against the Constitution and against the Bill of Rights? Or would you rather be for them with the potential of losing your badge and losing your ability to serve and protect? Because if you're going to serve and protect for the people, and they're being attacked by arbitrary means and by tyrannical methods being used, where's your place in history if you're not speaking out and if you're not holding other people accountable, if you're not holding those people accountable who are against people, citizens of America, of Rhode Island, wherever you are? If you're a police officer, I mean, you're looked at as a high authority because you hold a gun, because you hold a badge, you have the ability to arrest people, you have the ability to shut people down when you are told to, but you do not have to carry out unlawful, unconstitutional requests, whether it's by the governor himself, herself, whoever that's in power. They're not in power. The people are in power.
I'm a big Black to Blue supporter, and I always stress the importance of good cops.
Yes.
And good cops weeding out the bad cops, because the bad cops give them a bad reputation. They give them a bad image.
And we need good chiefs in there.
Well, Oscar Perez, huh?
No, that's what I don't know who's in there. I don't know who's not in there. What we need is constitutional chiefs, constitutional attorney generals, constitutional privy governors, mayors. That's who we need in there. We don't need these people. And again, it does go back to the pay to play stuff. I am 100% against the lobbying shit. We don't need it. Can the people fund who they want to fund? Of course. I mean, it comes out of the taxpayers. I think that if you're doing the work of the people, yeah, you should be paid for it. I'm not against that part. Not at all. If that's the living that you're going to make, then that's what you should be doing. But you better tread softly, in my opinion, if that's what the case is. And if you're in there genuinely, if you're voted in there genuinely, I think you're not going to do a perfect job, Paul. If you're in there, you're not. No one will, right? That's just the reality of it. But if you're going to stand by those people and stand by the stuff that you're saying, you're going to do the best of the ability that you can. You're not going to do what Governor Damaki's doing. You're not going to do what Governor Raimondo was doing, or Salini, who's up there as a state. Is he still a state representative for us?
No, he works for.
He was a congressman.
Okay, yeah, he was a congressman.
Resigned. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why.
Fuck that guy.
People are running for Congress.
Horrible.
Right now.
Complete disappointment.
Remember when he said, "Spare me the bullshit
Yeah.
about the Constitution"?
Yes.
We saw him
I
at
do
the
remember
Bristol
that.
4th of July parade.
Yeah.
I
Complete
just kept
disappointment.
saying that over and over to him. Spare me the bullshit about the constitutional
Yeah.
rights.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe.
Spare me the bullshit of who you are. No one will ever remember you.
I hope that the reason why he resigned was because he was forced to resign after saying that. Because how are you going to be the congressman representing us in Washington, D.C., and then go up there and mock our Constitution, which is basically one of the only last things protecting our rights as American citizens. Like, if our Constitution dies, freedom dies. If freedom dies in America, freedom dies everywhere else
For
in
the rest
world.
of the world. Yeah, 100%. If America falls, and we are on the cusp of it right now, we're on the brink of it. We've been on the brink of it for a long time now, and we're nearly there. We have socialist, fascist agendas amongst us right now since 9/11, since before that, but certainly since the Patriot Act, when the Bush administration had implemented that. When Obama came in, the whole country was starting to get divided because of the policies that he had placed in, the border stuff, and then say what you want about Trump. I'm not a defender of Trump. I'm not a defender of the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. I am a defender of someone who's going to be constitutionally privy to the people and the Bill of Rights. There are a lot of good things that Trump implemented. Hate him or not, I don't give a fuck what you think. He implemented a lot of things that was trying to get rid of the policies that the socialist democratic side was trying to implement under the Obama administration. With all of that said, we're facing that tenfold now because we have this Biden Alzheimer's. Nothing against I have everything against Alzheimer's, but nothing against those who suffer from it. But we have this incompetent, incognitive individual in our office.
It's elder abuse.
Elder abuse, whatever you want.
He
doesn't need to be in there.
Humiliate himself on the world stage, and I get so sad.
Yeah.
Because you can tell that it's not him who's running the country.
Right.
He's just carrying out an agenda that he's being told and probably forced to carry out.
Absolutely.
And it's just like, it's so sad.
And I think going back to where we were talking about with child trafficking and children or human beings in general just being trafficked and enslaved. We have it's estimated that we have 40 million slaves still globally, worldwide, throughout Africa, throughout Southern America, throughout non-westernized countries, mostly. And we also have slavery within westernized countries. In fact, in our own backyard of America, we have that. We have it at our border.
Well, right now at the border, there's 12,000 children in cages. 12,000 children in cages, and 85,000 children that have disappeared and no one knows where they are. And that was a tweet from Kennedy, the one who's running.
RF Kennedy?
Yep, yeah. RFK.
Shout out to Robert Kennedy.
I wish he would win the primary, but they'll never let him.
So
he's too...
He's too anti-establishment.
Too anti-establishment.
And you see what they did to his uncle.
Yeah.
Now my thing
is his uncle and his father.
Yep.
Now my thing is 12,000 children in cages. A lot of people, Democrats, how can we allow this? How can we allow this? How can we allow this? Well, now it's being led by a Democratic president, and there's 12,000 children in these cages. 85,000 are missing, and no one knows where they are. Obviously, they're probably being trafficked. Some are probably being sold for their organs and all this other shit. My question is, why people allowing this? Why aren't they speaking up? Why aren't they voicing their opinion that whether they're American children, Mexican children, Chinese children, or whatever country they're from, they're still children. They did not make the decision to take the trip over here. They did not make the decision to try to become American citizen. So now we don't know if they're dead or alive, if they're being raped every day, or if, their bodies are being cut open for their kidneys or liver. We don't know what's really going on. And them 85,000 children that are missing, we will never get an update if they were found, if, they're alive, if they're dead. And it just goes to show that's 85,000 that we know of. The number is definitely probably much higher.
For sure.
So, our rally of 50 people just is...
We need thousands.
Exactly.
We need millions. We need all those mothers. We need all those fathers. We need all those grandpas, those grandmas, those uncles, those aunts, brothers, sisters. We need all of you. Black, white, Hispanic, brown, Chinese, whatever the fuck you are, it doesn't matter.
And it's not a Republican
and
Democrat
it doesn't, and it's not a Democratic or Republican thing, and it's not a race thing either.
We need people to stop being afraid to talk about the taboo subjects.
Yeah.
I think that's
And in
what it
fact,
is.
if you
They're
want to
afraid.
include race, there's a more percentage of black children that go missing, black children that are aborted. If you really want to go and dive deep into that shit, there's an agenda on the black and brown community just as well as there's an agenda on the poor white community. We are all in this fight, and they want to keep these agendas going on, and they want to keep these divisive ideas and methods going on and saying that black people and white people hate each other. We do not. We don't.
We don't.
It's not realistic, because if it was that way, we would be at war. It would be out in the streets right now. We wouldn't be able to go out our doors. Nobody would be able to. Yes, are there racial disparities? Absolutely, 100%. But we can fix it. It can be fixed.
A lot of those were created by the government.
Yes, a lot of those. Yes, 100% they were. They're created by movies. They're created by the fucking media.
And
the
the
media is
music.
like, in my opinion, other than the government and corporations, I'm getting very intense. I apologize. I don't apologize, but I'm trying to keep my
Sorry,
voice.
not
I'm trying.
sorry.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry. I'm trying to keep my my voice and emotions and disciplined. But the media, if anything, if anyone or any entity is responsible for the division of this country and this world, the media is like right up there. It's either number one. It's the arm of the government. It's the arm of these World Economic Forum controllers, the Davos Group, the Bilderberg groups, the Klaus Schwabs, the Bill Gates, the Faucis, all of these people, the royal families, all of these people who are specifically, and I'm not just naming names, these are specific families and people that are behind it, corporations, BlackRock and Vanguard, Viacom. These are three entities that are specifically if you want to know who the devil is, you just need to learn who they are. You need to learn where the money goes to. And you need to learn that these people are responsible specifically for, or these entities rather are responsible for child trafficking, for human trafficking, for sex slavery, for slavery. Do you know about the cobalt mines and our cell phones? Mm-hmm. Do you know about the cobalt mines that make our batteries more efficient with the lithium ion? Do you know about that? The war on Iraq was really to overcome the opium fields and to make sure that we were control the lithium fields in Afghanistan and Iraq. Do you know about that stuff? That's actual stuff. Millions of people died over there. That's the weapons of mass destruction that they were talking about. Sorry.
It's okay.
No,
I apologize.
See, people don't realize.
I don't apologize.
Exactly.
But I'm sorry for getting.
But see, people.
I'm not sorry for that either. But I'm just saying. I'm trying to keep my.
People don't realize what's really going on. It's like they live in a fantasy world, and right now in Rhode Island, it's a two-party system: Democrat, Republican.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a uni party.
Yeah. So I announced.
Yeah, they're in bed with each other for sure.
So I announced to try to create more of a party/movement, the Independent American Patriots. Now, where independents who believe in the Constitution believe in fighting for the rights of others while sharing traditional values, mother, father, whatever. But at the end of the day, the most thing we fight for is freedom. And whether you be a Republican or a Democrat, you can still join the fight and fight with us regardless if I'm an independent, because that's what it's going to take to change the world is unity. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like I said, if there's 8 people standing with me, I'm going to fight just as hard as there's thousands. And I've proved that. Mm-hmm. There's been times I've walked around the State House with just by myself and confronted McKee and all these other individuals. But every time I step in the State House, I get a private tour from the Capitol Police. It's like they see me, they meet me at the door, they walkie each other, and they literally escort me around the building.
Right.
Oh, and they try to have a conversation to act like they're not
trying
to spy on me, but you know.
Like, hey, Paul, how you doing, buddy?
Exactly.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Yeah, and it's always like that. One time we went in there to give them a heads up about a rally, right? Mm-hmm. And I looked to my left, and my Facebook page is on their screen.
Wow. No
Yep.
shit. So
My
they're paying attention to you.
My Facebook page was on their screen, and you're
doing something right, though.
Yeah.
If they're paying attention to you, you're doing something right.
But I'm like, how the hell
Uh,
is my Facebook on your screen, and you didn't hide it before I walked in the door? You didn't have time anyway, but
Probably didn't. Yeah, you
You
came
know.
unexpectedly.
yeah. So I was like, what the hell?
You came unannounced, Paul.
Oh, wow, I was just.
You gotta let them know first.
And it's just crazy to me.
So, let me ask you this: Do you think, like, legitimately, can these people be voted out?
In the state of Rhode Island, I feel like most of them are selected, not elected.
Right.
Until we fix.
That's how I feel. I feel like if the establishment doesn't like you, you don't.
Right.
You'll never even come close.
Right. Because I believe,
Like,
that
bow
if,
down.
because I believe that if you can control on the state level, if you can control your own state, and you'll be able to kind of push that type of method, or I don't want to say ideology, but maybe the method, maybe this is maybe like the curriculum of like, this is how you take control of your state. This is how you take your state back. Because we can't take Rhode Island by itself can't take the country back. It can take itself back. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort. It's going to take some stress. It's going to take some pain. You know what I'm saying? It's going to take some suffering. But I think on the local and county level and state level, it is definitely a possibility. It is not even a possibility. It can be done. People just need to fucking hear what's being said and understand that. Listen, do you really want to eat the bugs? Do you really want to live in pods? Do you really want this inflation to affect your life? Do you really want McKee to tell you that we have 10 point some odd million of housing assistance, and then you go out there and you're trying to get a housing assistance and you can't afford it? You can't get approved because you make too much, or whatever the fuck the excuse is. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're a single parent and you have or not even a single parent, if you are the head of household trying to take care of everything and you have all this stuff on you, right? And you're trying to make a headway, and they're telling you we have 10.7 million, or 10. I think that's what I read on his Twitter recently. 10.5 million. I think it's from the Rhode Island 2030 shit too. I might be mixing those two together, but I read it on his Twitter today. 10 point some odd million of housing assistance, where that's implemented in trying to get loans and all that stuff, or people who are trying. And I read it. There's not a lot of happy people on McKee's Twitter. There really isn't. If you go check out Governor Dan McKee's Twitter, just put his name into the search bar. It's called X now, but it's the Twitter.
It'll always be Twitter.
It'll always be Twitter. If you look up his Twitter or even his Facebook profile, there are a lot of unhappy Rhode Islanders, disappointed people who have voted for him and regret it because of the inflation, because of the administration that he's working. He's not a Democrat. He's not a real Democrat. This is a socialist, fascist state. Raimondo was the same thing. She was a plant. And didn't her position getting into the federal government, that this was batoned off to McKee at first, right? Like he was like, wasn't he like the version of vice president, like vice governor or some shit like that?
The lieutenant governor.
Yeah, lieutenant governor.
So when she left,
I don't know proper.
When she left, he stepped in.
Right, that's what happened. Yeah. He did a fucking. He did a Carter.
Yeah, basically. and when she left, he stepped in, and then
nothing against Carter, but
everyone was like, "Oh, maybe there'll be a difference," because no one really knew who McKee was. He was in the background, not doing a damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he came in for a couple months, and then boom, the COVID agenda came.
Yep.
Then he started fucking up, and we're like, "Holy shit, this is worse than Raimondo." But at the end of the day,
and then he got voted in,
and this is what people wanted. You know what I mean? And you asked if Rhode Island will change.
Mm-hmm.
Rhode Island will not change until they wake up, because right now all the people who voted for all these Democrats, they're only worried about two things: abortions and the LGBTQ. and that seems like that's their main agenda, their main issue. Oh, trans rights, LGBTQ, whatever, and you know, and being able to kill babies. My thing is, abortion was already codified in the state of Rhode Island, so it was never an issue. You know what I mean? And as far as the LGBTQ, they have more rights than me and you do. You know what I mean? Someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, white boy," and gives me a slap. It's not a hate crime. It's an assault. I go up to someone and I say, "Hey, you know, whatever," and I slap you.
Cue racial insert or cue bigotry insert here. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
It's a hate crime, and I'm getting charged with an assault.
Right.
So they have more rights than the average everyday American. People get mad because we don't want our children being taught a sexual agenda in schools. People get mad that we don't want drag time story hour in our libraries being showed to children. What is wrong with people? Back in our day, we had sex ed in 6th grade, and it was very, you know, textbook, and it was, all right, well, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, for 1 quarter, and then it was done. It was like a health class, and it was done. And it wasn't as sexualized as it is now. You know what I mean? And so the sexual agenda in the state of Rhode Island is killing the youth. You know what I mean? Because...
And mutilating them.
And, you know, with all this, you know, oh, I want to be a boy and I'm a girl at 11 years old. What?
Right.
Like, and then in other states...
Sometimes it's younger than that.
Exactly. In other states in America, if you fight against that, they take your children.
California, I think, is one of them right now.
It's a total attack on Western civilization.
And Lonnie Ray Williams, who's actually watching us right now.
Shout outs.
In his state, if you fight against mutilation of the child, and because if they want it, they have to get it, they try to take your child away. And it just goes to show that, you know, you're not the parent anymore. The government is trying to be the parent. And everyone who's a parent should be afraid. You know what I mean? Because right now, your child is a target for the government. Your child is unsafe.
There was a protest, an LGBTQ plus minus divide and conquer movement protest. And there was a chant. There's a song that they're doing. The chant is, we're queer, we're here, we're coming for your children. It's an actual...
I could not believe that when
that's
I saw
not a joke. That's not a conspiracy. I'm not making that up. You can go look it up. They literally, I was like, it's
demonic.
And there's also a song too. I'll have to... I don't remember, but it has some similarities to it. But I remember that chant that they were doing, and it's very recently. I think it was during. I want to say it was during Pride Month that's when it started hitting off. I don't know, and I don't know what state it was, but it was in America, somewhere in America, and the chant was, "We're here." No, we're something along the lines. We're here. We're queer. We're coming for your children. They specifically say that we're coming for your children. So.
And these are the people who preach against Nazis, right? Keep in mind, the Nazis were the one who believed in indoctrinating the youth, and they specifically targeted youth as a special audience for its propaganda message. So they are the Nazis, and they accuse everybody else of being the Nazis. They are the modern-day Hitlers.
Right. And this isn't, and I'm talking about specifically the groups that are saying these things. It's not the LGBTQ plus minus divide movement, whatever. It's because even a lot of the people within that group are against
but they need to stand up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. 100% they need to. In fact, they have more of a responsibility to stand up for that because parents are already standing up for their children. We need the people in those groups to oust those people who are not being friendly to their own movement, and also by following what seems to be an agenda in our schools and in the workplace and out in society in general. You know what I mean? We're gonna take a break from this. I want to come back to this because I need to go handle myself too real quick. I'm gonna put I'll put the actually, you know what? If you guys just want to talk to the audience really quickly, and then when I come back, I'm gonna start reading some of the comments because I know there's a lot of comments in here, and I want to kind of go back. And if you have any questions or if you have anything that or topics that should be brought up that relate to child trafficking, that relate to even the Maui fires, that, and also especially within Rhode Island, anything that needs to be brought up, I would like to discuss it. I want to go and take a quick break real quick. I'm going to leave it up to Paul Rianna. I say Rihanna, I apologize.
However you say it, it's fine.
All
Say
right.
Rianna.
Paul Rianna Jr. and Kara Kryptonite. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. We are live. Oh, also, the Tru Perspective, the TRU Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Rumble, YouTube. Go to Rumble, add it on Rumble, because in the future, I'm probably not going to keep everything on Facebook Live or whatever, or it'll be very temporary. But definitely go to rumble.com/the Tru Perspective, the TRU Perspective, and add Spotify also. And I'll be right back in like 2 minutes.
Now, you see, the issue here again is someone had commented protests don't work.
Protests do work.
And this is the issue that
But I see the point that she's making, because if you have, we saw what happened at January 6th. They had undercover federal agents in the crowd. They had Antifa in the crowd that totally went there to mess it up and trap people.
Okay, I have a question for you. Has anyone in the state of Rhode Island ever came and fucked with a Paul Rianna rally?
No, but they have spied.
Have they ever came and did any violent act to a Paul Rianna rally?
No,
Has anyone ever gotten hurt at a Paul Rianna rally?
no.
Okay. So as far as peacefully protesting, I feel like I kind of mastered the peaceful protest. I don't see anyone coming to hurt any individual. Granted, we get a couple middle fingers and, you know, swears and...
Only that one time at Sam Bell's house.
Yeah, but at Sam Bell's house, that was a whole separate incident that had nothing to do with us.
That was down the street, though.
Exactly. That had nothing to do with us, so that doesn't include our rally. You know what I mean? That includes two idiots that were acting a fool towards a Spanish person, and it got out of hand.
We're also very aware of people that show up who we don't recognize, and we make sure that we automatically go up to them, talk to them, find out what their intentions are.
Like, there's another individual at our rally in front of Josh Miller's business who showed up, tried to portray like he was with us, and we knew he wasn't with us. And then as we watch him walk around the corner, he's walking around with this woman named Kathleen Layton.
Yep.
Who,
Clearly, it's been sending him to spy.
Sending people to come watch our rallies. And there's also another kid. He's a good kid. He's all right. He doesn't give me any trouble. He comes to our rallies, and he holds one of our signs. His name is Michael Tillinghast, but he acts like he supports our message. But he was at the God's Children Not For Sale rally, and in his back pocket was a Sabina flyer. Now, like I said, anyone can join, Democrat, Republican, that's fine. But don't, act like you're with us when we know
You're not.
you're trying to just infiltrate to get information. Which I don't know what information you're trying to get, because
We're public about everything.
I'm public about every single thing that I do. I share the rallies thousands of times. And that's the thing. I share these rallies so much that I get banned for it. And we still only get 50 people. So make it make sense. And yeah, I guess I'm censored, but when I send you the rally directly, like, I'm pretty sure I've sent you an invitation directly. I do that to almost everyone on my friends list, to where I can't even message anyone because the little red dot will show up basically saying you
You exceeded the limit of adding.
I exceeded
As
the
if
limit.
there's a limit on communication.
Exactly. So I exceeded the limit, and people will just look at it, not respond, not put. Even if they can't go, they don't put interested. They don't share it.
Yeah.
But I know you've seen it, and the thing is, people are like, oh well, you can't get mad at someone for not showing up. No, I can't get mad at someone for not showing up. But when shit hits the fan, you know what I mean? You want people to stand by you,
and they'll
fight
wish
with
that
you.
they did more.
And you know what I mean? Like with this whole vaccine mandate thing. It was crazy. I woke up one day, I had this idea. I said, you know what? I'm going to start a rally. And it was the first one I ever planned. I was like, maybe 10 people will show up. At that time, there was like 200 people who showed up. I'm like, holy shit.
Whoa.
We're onto something. And then, you know, I started talking shit to my managers, my bosses at Fatima Hospital, about how they can try to, you know, fire me for a shot I don't want. Blah, blah, blah. And everyone kept saying, Paul, you're going to give in. 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 So at the last, I think it was at the last day almost.
Like October, I think it was, right?
No, like where I knew I was going to lose my job.
Oh, gotcha.
Like
Gotcha.
officially, like when they first told me I was going to lose it regardless. We held a rally in front of Fatima Hospital. And everyone, the security guy was like, oh, you can't stand over here. You can't do this. You can't do that. I had to go to work in that same night. I worked overnights. So I had to go to work that same night. And everyone's like, Paul, you're fucking insane. Like, how can you come into work after you just did all of this? You even had the patients looking out the window and like chant, freedom, not force. And I'm just laughing because, you know what I mean?
Good times.
It's someone that we brought awareness to, even though they can't come out the building because they were on lockdown on the mental health floor. They couldn't come out. Even they were fighting for the rights of us outside. They felt bad. When I lost my job, you know, there were certain residents that were crying, like, you know, I love you and, you know, thank you for all you do. And they get upset. So, yeah, you know, I feel like anybody can, you know, fight for the cause and be a voice. Not even if it's just, you know, to one person or 10 people. It could be anyone. You know what I mean? I talk to people in, you know, Walmart all the time. I talk to people at Stop and Shop about all the shit that's going on.
Every day he does. He talks to everyone.
And they sit there and say, and then they're like, oh, you know, thank you, da da da. And then some people will be like, oh, you look familiar, and it doesn't place in their heads. And I'm like, well, I did run for governor of the state of Rhode Island. And a lot of people will be like, oh, no fucking way. Or, you know, oh, that's cool. Or are you going to run again? That's the main question I always get. Are you going to run again? If you run this next time, I'm going to support you or vote for you. Or, you know, I didn't even know you was on the ballot. That's because they hide the independent people.
Write them in.
You should have seen his social media accounts while he was running for governor. They would get locked down. He would get kicked off. He had to make like a new Facebook every time. You would go to his page and nothing would show. Like it was so obvious that it was election interference. Like so obvious. And Lonnie said in the comments that Rhode Islanders led the way into liberty during our founding years and can again. And he's very right about that. A lot of people don't know that Rhode Island was the first place to declare its independence. Like
we were
like the Tea Party before the Tea Party.
Yep. And we were the last to, I think, sign off on. I might be getting that wrong right now.
We were the last to join the colonies.
Yes, correct.
Because we were very independent and very wary of like, you know.
Yep.
But we declared our independence before anybody else in this country did. And Lonnie's right. We can lead the way again.
The problem is people need to wake up and understand what's going on with our children, with our freedom, with our civil liberties, with everything that's going on. People should not walk with two hands over their eyes. Open up.
Or a mask on their face.
Exactly. You know, free air is freedom. You know, open up. Realize what's going on. You may not be able to make this rally, but there's plenty of other rallies that are going to come. And join. Step in. Fight with us. You know, we're cool people. You know, you can ask everyone. You know, we have a rally. We watch each other's backs. And, you know, we make sure we're safe. And, you know, that's what it is about, is unity in the community. If all these other groups can unite and, you know, get thousands in a blink of an eye, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people who agree with our agenda, who agree with freedom and freedom of speech. And, you know, the main thing that worries me that this last rally was for children, and it was God's children are not for sale. So that means we're fighting against children being sex trafficked. We're fighting them against their organs being harvested and sold.
Mm-hmm.
We're fighting them being sold for just, all types of things, slavery.
Fighting
and,
against their indoctrination. Fighting for their innocence.
Exactly. All these things. And only 50 people showed up, but about 300 people put interested.
Mm.
Why? Because it was an 80-degree day.
Mm.
Is your children's freedom not important?
Mm.
But going to Six Flags is, going to the beach is. What happens if your child gets kidnapped tomorrow? Are you going to go to the beach?
They'll care then.
No, you'll be saying, they're going to be putting all these alerts out, all these Facebook postings, and all of that. So my thing is, this is not going to be the last God's Children Not for Sale rally. It's not. We got to keep going. We got to hit different.
keep saying we should come to Central Falls next.
We got to keep hitting all areas in Rhode Island.
I think everywhere, yeah.
And bring awareness to it. And, we may not.
Right out. Well, I don't want to announce the headquarters anyway. Not just yet. Not just yet.
Exactly.
But I was gonna say, doing that. I think it should be every city. Woonsocket, Central Falls, Providence, South Providence, East Providence, North Providence.
Exactly. And
Cumberland, all of them.
Exactly.
Pawtucket.
Because not one child is not in danger. You know what I mean? There's pedophiles out there. There's predators. There's all types of fucked up people in the world who are just waiting for the moment to prey on an innocent child. And that's why we fight. And it's not just because the movie Sound of Freedom came out. I always had these thoughts. And,
yeah, me too.
You know what I mean?
Even when I ran for governor.
The problem is when you have these thoughts, you kind of get a little nervous because you wonder if other people have the same thoughts as you.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, you know what? Fuck it. I can't keep worrying about other individuals. I got to, speak my mind and fight for what I believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. And I met like-minded individuals. Obviously me and Kara, we're a couple. So, we both talk about these things. And then we met Alex, then Jen Sullivan, then Adam Barlow, and then Melissa, and all these other individuals.
Everybody in the chat.
Yep, and we decided to come together and make these rallies. Now, everyone is invited to join us. Whether you fucking hate Paul Rianna or not, you could still come and fight for the cause and not have to associate with me.
I think because you don't like Paul, that is no excuse to not show up. And that's the pettiest excuse somebody could ever use.
And I heard that a lot during this last rally from an individual. I'm not going to say her name. I invited a lot of people, and the main reason why they said they're not going to come is because they hate Paul. I don't give a shit if you hate me or not. If we're fighting for your child's right, you should come and fight for your child's right.
It's not the rally for Paul.
I know.
Rianna Jr.
I went to so many
It's a
events
rally
where I didn't
for
like people.
making awareness of child trafficking. Yeah, sorry. These fucking windows. I had this issue last night. Yeah, because I've been swatting these fucking things. So these windows are like super old. It's a building from the 1800s. Sorry to go off on this topic, but we have, like, if anyone could see it on video camera, we have these little fucking gnat creatures flying around.
They're
hanging
Democrats.
Out. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that they come through the windows that they're very much outdated. They're supposed to replace them here in this building, so we have little visitors that kind of hang out. They might be CIA operative, eat the bug stuff. You know what I mean? Who knows?
That was a joke.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a total joke. Definitely not a. I don't think pigeons are fucking CIA cameras. Although, just to be fair, nowadays there's probably the capability to mimic a bird that can surveil and whatever. But I don't know if have you ever heard of the conspiracy of birds aren't real?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a ridiculous fucking conspiracy.
I still can't decide if people are being serious or they're
I
just
don't
joking.
know, but there's been protests about it though. Like, I've seen video of that shit. I'm like, that's kind of
They
weird.
might just be trolling, like the most hardcore.
I hope they're trolling.
Now, do you know what's crazy about all of this?
What's
and
that? Sorry, I went on a fucking topic.
It's all right. There's someone in the chat.
Yep.
MAGA Man.
MAGA Man.
And he says,
Also, shout outs to Fake Mike Real News. He's on the Rumble app too. I think he says he wants to call in.
And MAGA Man says, not Channel 12, Channel 10, Channel 6, none of them covered the God Children Are Not For Sale rally. And they were emailed and notified also.
They'll cover a progressive rally that 3 people show up to.
And called, and none of them showed up. Because they don't want to touch the topic. Just like the police. You know what I mean? You got 30, 40 individuals marching in the middle of the street of downtown Providence.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't guide us. You didn't stop us.
They saw us. They kept driving by us.
They kept driving by us.
Right.
But you could tell they didn't want to touch the
But
topic.
they didn't want to touch it because of the topic. You know what I mean? Because if they tried to stop us, my comment would have been, do you believe it's okay for a child to be sex trafficked?
Right.
And then if they did try to aid us, someone would have said, well, why do you allow them to do this and do that and, you know, give them the switch on, well...
That is actually interesting. Has there been any other protests around the country where on this specific topic where the protesters have been harassed on it or have been deflected or have been...
There was one in New York. Wasn't it the same day as ours?
Yeah, but there were, I heard there was only like 4 people that showed up.
No, I saw videos of it. There was a lot more than that. But even
I'm saying like, on the event page itself, it showed like 4 or 5 people.
They did basically the same event in New York on the same day.
Yep.
And there were no cops, no media, nothing.
Nothing. That's very telling.
And then they're doing another one nationally where every state is going to do one on the same day. And I think I'm going to message them and try to coordinate something for Rhode Island, and because they're looking for a state lead in Rhode Island. So I might take that on, but I also got to talk to these individuals first. I just don't want to, you know, jump into something and then all of a sudden their whole thing is like, ooh.
Yeah, right.
You know, because, you know.
Jan 6 2.0
exactly,
or some bullshit like that.
So we're going to see how that goes, but we're not done. We're still going to be a voice for the children. We're going to fight, and, you know, that's what has to happen. And I just think it's crazy how everyone can just sit there and, you know, not fight for their children. There was people at the rally who showed up who didn't even have children.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I
So
don't have children.
They didn't have children, and, you know, they're sitting there fighting for your children. You know what I'm saying? We got all these parent groups in Rhode Island, Parents United, a couple of parents groups on Facebook, and, you know, granted, I understand their fight is for certain things, but if you're fighting for children, you need to fight for children in all aspects.
Yep.
Not just because you don't want your child to wear a mask, not because you don't want your child to be sexualized. It all comes together at the end of the day. God's children are not for sale, right? So, obviously, you're not going to sell their freedom. You're not going to sell their innocence. You're not going to sell their rights. You're not going to sell their organs. And you're sure as hell not going to allow them to be sex trafficked. It all comes together at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And people need to understand and unite. And like I said, if you hate Paul Rianna Jr., I'm happy you hate me. I must be doing something right. But if you hate me due to a personal opinion that you have about me, good for you. You don't have to stand next to me, but you can still fight for the cause.
That's the thing. It's total bullshit, and they just use that as an excuse to not come.
And
it's just an excuse. It's just a bullshit excuse to not come.
Right.
Because my name's on that event too.
Right.
They don't hate me. So come to my event then, you know?
Exactly.
Don't use Paul as an excuse for you to not do anything and not stand up.
But I think I'm a pretty
100%.
guy.
I mean, especially if it's about, well, you know, people are always going to find something, right? They're always going to find something. Like, not everyone, like what I said before, like if you get it say, I'm not going to say if, when you make your stand again, and I think you should always continue to run. Never not run. You know what I'm saying? And I think more people should get in that fight to run, or at least get behind someone that can take that front. And
thinking about it.
Right. good. I mean, I think more people need to think more about that. I think just in general, the control has been completely. It's on a landslide right now. We have an uphill battle. You know what I'm saying? The people do not. We should have the control, but we do not have the control. It's not to say that we can't have the control either, though. We most certainly can, because, you know, like it or not, whether these politicians and these multimillionaires, whether they like it or not, they need us more than we need them, 100%. I do want to get into some questions into the chat, like I said earlier. I want to go with Fake Mike Real News, Will Turbot. He says, much love, True. What's the sexual agenda specifically, and how is it hurting Rhode Island?
Like in what aspect?
I'm not sure.
You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of sexual agendas that are hurting Rhode Island between sexualization.
Oh, I think, okay, so we were talking about the LGBTQ community, and I think that might be what he was specifying.
A lot of them are advocating for putting children on puberty blockers and hormone blockers, which is not natural or okay at all. But it goes even deeper than that. They are advocating for children to chop and mutilate their bodies and become another gender, sometimes even before they know how to tie their shoes.
Right.
You don't know how to tie your shoes, but you know what gender you are. And I think it's totally normal for a kid to be confused about their identity. That's part of growing up, figuring out who you are as a person. It's not okay for them to be put on hormone blockers or for them to be transitioning. Like that, it's one thing if you do it as an adult. It's a whole nother thing when you're advocating for children to be doing this. And a lot of them are being sexually groomed, they're being sexualized, and that literally is stealing their innocence from them. You see people who, I've seen and heard of so many cases of people, when they're children, they get molested and they grow up to be drug users, murderers, rapists,
Serial
because
killers,
of the trauma that they went through when they were a child, because they were molested, they were sexually groomed, they were sexually abused. And it's really just, it shows that there is a complete attack on our children's innocence.
He's asking, he means in schools specifically on the same topic that we're talking about, and also he said who specifically in Rhode Island is doing that. I believe there's a school, I think it was in North Kingston, and I cannot remember the lady's name.
Jen Lima. Jen
Lima, thank you. And there was I believe there was a book that was involved. Genderqueer, yeah. And this isn't a lot of other parts of the country too. California, New York, a lot of other parts of the country, but Rhode Island specifically in North Kingston. Genderqueer book it details a young boy. I think it details a young boy with a younger male but older, depicted as older than, you know, like a man, and it depicts oral, basically giving oral sex to another man, a boy,
and has
doing
pictures
and has pictures of it, has depictions of that, and this is specifically being given to children.
To desensitize them.
To desensitize them, and to also, and it's also like they're, you know, this isn't high school where they may be more privy to understand what these things are going on. Even that isn't appropriate. But these are first graders, second graders, third graders, fourth graders, fifth graders, and sixth graders. So
to me, it's just,
to answer your question,
that makes them more vulnerable to being molested.
Sure.
And thinking that it's okay.
Well, I don't think that book. Listen, I'm not saying that the book shouldn't exist. I mean, I don't think the book should exist in my opinion, but I'm not saying that the existence of the book shouldn't exist. I'm saying that the existence of the book shouldn't exist for children.
Or in
it's
schools.
Inappropriate in schools. Why is it there for? You know
Back
what I'm saying?
in my day, your mom and dad gave you the talk, not your teachers.
Yeah, not your teachers. And sexual ed was like very, very, very specific.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't showing. I'm hearing that some of these places are showing video of certain things, that, you know, acts on certain things.
Talking about anal.
Yeah, like first of all, That's a fucking rabbit hole too. But like that isn't even a part of it. I mean, maybe it may be a part of it in a really dark rabbit hole conversation revolving around sex. Is that is more pornographic than it is educational, right?
Somebody in the comments said that there were COVID payouts being offered to schools that were pushing that agenda. So again, it leads back to money.
Okay, so
absolutely 100%.
I'm gonna say this: go to Barnes and Noble in the toddler section, and there's a book called Gay BCs.
Yep, so I heard about that and saw that. Yeah.
It was so disgusting.
Go look at the book, and then you tell me how our children are not being targeted or sexualized
or
groomed on this whole agenda. You know what I mean? Just that book alone in that section is disgusting. And, you know, they say, oh, it's, you know, our right, you know, freedom for whatever. But when does it kind of understand that it's putting a danger to children and, you know, fucking with their minds? When do we realize that they're not doing it to teach our child educational shit? They're doing it to groom them, to, you know, make them believe a certain thing and all of that. No one should be groomed into being something that they don't even know exists. You know what I mean? At 2 or 3 years old, I'm pretty sure you don't know what gay is.
If you talk to a lot of molestation victims who were molested when they were children, they were taught and brainwashed into believing that it was okay and it was a form of love. And it wasn't until they grew up and learned more about the world that they realized it was abuse. And sometimes it's too late for them when they learn that wasn't love, that was abuse. But I really think that's a big part of it, is to make children more vulnerable to accepting abuse.
100%. I think that when these topics are brought up and when people say like, oh, there's grooming happening and there's a sexualization of children, I think people, well, the media is at fault for a lot of this too, but I think people, because they listen to the major medias, because they also have an agenda and a hand in this also, they think that it's an attack on a specific group of people, like the LGBTQ community. It is not.
It's an attack on...
It is not. The attack is actually on children and the curriculum in the schools, the grooming in there. There's video, and you can be in denial all you want. There's videos out there. You can go all the way. You can online, YouTube. It's all over Twitter. It's all over Instagram. You can look that they have this form of drag queen story time shit where they have these men that are dressed as women that are pole dancing, that are, gyrating in these ways. And these aren't high schoolers. And even if they were high schoolers, it still doesn't make it okay. They're still underage. It's still a minor.
They do it here in Rhode Island, too. There's been like 2 or 3 of those so far. And you have to think, we have a sitting state senator right now who went on her campaign account and posted a video of her twerking. And then the next day, she posted about the advocacy work that she does for this organization called Youth Pride Rhode Island, which is located right in Providence. And they are grooming our children. They are sexually indoctrinating them. And I think all of the children that go to Youth Pride Rhode Island are at risk. And that's a state senator. She has children that follow her on her campaign account because she goes to Youth Pride RI to advocate for them. So they follow her online, and then they see videos of her twerking. What a disgusting disgrace to our state. I can't believe that she was voted in. I really, really, really hope she doesn't get voted in again. It's disgusting. It's a total attack on our children. I think that Youth Pride Rhode Island needs to be investigated because they are pushing
a lot of those children,
those agendas.
A lot of those children that are involved in that program are vulnerable children. I
think Tiara Mack needs to be investigated too because she...
that was actually mentioned in the chat. Let me scroll up here.
A disgrace.
Hartman. Hartman
and they have
had
Brett
mentioned
Smiley
that. Tierra
posted
Mack.
pictures with her. She just posted a picture with the vice president yesterday, Kamala Harris. She posted a picture with the press secretary. I can't help but wonder if the vice president and the press secretary know what she's doing in Rhode Island. Know that she posts videos for children to see of her twerking on her campaign account to siphon money and siphon votes. Like, that is just so sick to me. So sick.
Yep. Complete unprofessional behavior, and not to mention, like, you know, and I read a lot of different opinions, and I've had people who I know via acquaintance or along those lines, where they've seen that video and they're like, oh, people are just overreacting to the twerking video. Like, she's allowed to do what she does, you know, on her public and private time, and I agree with that. But at the same time, when you're posting it on your actual campaign page,
everything changes.
That is out the window. Yeah, you can do whatever you want outside. I totally get that.
But I'm still going to judge you because you're an elected official. You have a
twerking,
responsibility
and you
to
have children
morals.
Right, and you have children on your page. You know, put it this way. When politicians get into a certain place of authority or a place of achievement, even athletes, when they get into a place of certain achievement, or actors or children, especially if these people have some sort of outreach to children, to the prying minds, to have some type of you know, they want someone to look up to because maybe they don't have anyone to look up to at home, so they look up to you, and then they find then they find the twerking senator, right, out on the beach twerking, or what I think it was the beach that she was at. I can't remember.
Yeah, she was on Block Island.
Block Island, there we go. And, you know, twerking upside down, right? I mean, you know, fine. You know, you want to throw yourself around as an OnlyFans eye candy, sure, have at it. But you know, you're representing a people, you're representing a district, you're representing people and young minds that are looking up to you, and you just made that look okay to do. And not to mention, what was the program again?
Youth Pride
Rhode Island. So
and they allow her to go there still.
A lot of the
and advocate for these children and help these children.
And that program,
it's sinister.
That program carries in a lot of children who may not have a stable family.
Thank you.
They're vulnerable.
Yep.
They're gonna look up to someone that they find some type of you know, that they think that they are loved and cared for or whatever.
It's abuse.
So
I'm looking in the comment section right now,
sure.
And Sharon Clark says that there are preschools teaching masturbation to toddlers.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now,
what the fuck is this world coming to? We all need to pray.
You know, if that was my child and, you know, a preschool teacher was teaching them that, I don't know what I would do. You know, I'm not going to say what I would do. I'd probably go to jail. But I just think that parents need to wake up and realize that that's not okay for a toddler to learn. That's not normal. That's a mental health issue within the preschool teacher, if you ask me, you know. So if
they try to gaslight you into believing it's not happening. It's happening all over the country. It's happening all over the world. It's happening all over Rhode Island.
And we're bringing awareness to the cause, and we're gonna keep bringing awareness, whether it be 5 people, 6 people, 7 people, 8 people. You know what I mean? And shout out to Massachusetts, because some individuals from Mass came and supported our cause. So shout out to Mass, and you know, we appreciate you for coming out and showing support and standing with Rhode Island. And it's awesome to see that unity from 2 different states, and you know, hopefully, you know, in the future we can grow and, you know, support each other's causes. And you know, I think it's awesome. And you know, I go to Boston every month, and you know, walk around, and you know, I see some crazy shit. and
oh my gosh, remember the Christmas shop we went into?
Yeah, we went to a Christmas shop, and they had ornaments of, like, you know,
Santa's in assless chaps.
Yeah,
like
like-
almost naked.
like, and you know, any child can see this shit. So it's
Jesus
just
Christ.
like I said, we see some crazy shit.
They
And,
had a lot of them too.
No
I
way.
was like, what the heck?
and it's just goes to show that you know, it's just not happening in Rhode Island, it's happening everywhere. So a shout out to Mass, like I said, I appreciate you. And you know, the individual who came from Mass, you know, she didn't have children.
There was 2 of them.
I know, but I'm speaking on this one individual. Didn't have children. She came and, you know, stood with us and fought. And the other individual, she's running for something in Mass. Her, I think it's representative or town council. You know, I apologize that I don't have it on top of my head right now. Her name is, her last name is Doherty. You know what I mean? And she came and she fought for the cause. And, you know what I mean? These are people that are not even on a state. That it probably takes like an hour just to get here. You know what I mean? To fight. So just imagine if, you know what I mean? If someone can drive an hour here to fight for your children, you could take a half hour to fight for yours. You know what I mean? And we're not saying you have to stay the whole time. Come stand with us for 20, 30 minutes, you know, be a voice for your child. And, you know, if you want to go, you know, you say bye to everyone and go. So we make sure, you know, everyone's accounted for and safe. You know, that's the main thing, is safe. And that's what I always make sure. I even go an hour early to make sure there's nothing crazy. You know what I mean? Because if I go an hour early and someone's going to try to beat someone up, more than likely they're going to want to beat me the fuck up. So they're going to beat me up within that hour before anyone gets there. And then it goes accordingly. You know what I mean? Most of the time, Capitol Police are aware. Providence Police are aware. This topic, they don't really like, so...
Yeah, the Capitol Police officer we talked to was like, oh, child abduction happens in Rhode Island? I didn't know that. I'm like, are you living under a fucking rock? Like, come on.
Has anyone tried to talk to like Providence police detectives on the matter of those missing children in DCYF? Has anyone tried to? Where did that story go? Does anyone know? No.
Just dropped off the face of the
It
earth.
dropped off the face of the earth.
And then Gina Raimondo got a federal promotion.
Yo, I think the person to confront about that would actually be Sergeant Ray Hull, who's a representative.
Sergeant Ray Hull?
Ray Hull.
Ray Hull.
He's a representative. I think he would be the one to basically ask about that. And because he's a representative, he would probably be able to get more knowledge and information about it. And as being a police officer, you know what I mean? As a detective, they're going to say, well, we can't release the information because of the privacy of the child. You know what I mean? Because when it comes to youth and the children division, it's very locked down and private. You know what I mean? But as a representative, he can give a statement. He's a representative, not only a police officer. So he can give a statement about what he thinks. So, you know, that's where he has kind of like...
Do you think he'd be...
He's very...
open?
He's up Joe Saccaci's ass pretty deep. You know, they're very good buddies. So I don't know. Me and him, we're okay. He sees me, says hi.
Maybe not now after saying that.
Well, the crazy shit is...
All he's telling him is to use his platform for good.
The crazy shit is, believe it or not, when I saw him in person, he said he didn't like McCain. He voted for me. I thought I was going to drop dead right there.
No shit.
I thought I was going to die.
You're going to need to fact check that
Yeah, I'll never know the truth.
Yeah.
But, you know, when he said that, I was like, yeah, okay, you know.
Next time, take that photo of that,
Yeah,
making
exactly.
sure.
You're going to have to see a picture of the ballot, sir.
Yeah.
Exactly, like...
I took a picture of my ballot.
You know, a lot of people said they voted for me, and,
Yep.
you know, I'm pretty sure, you know, some didn't. But, hey, it's a thought that counts, you know. About 3,300 Rhode Islanders felt like I should be the governor of the state of Rhode Island, and I appreciate that.
Call me a conspiracy theorist. I believe the number was higher than that. But they just didn't want to give you the credit as being the leading independent.
Yeah, I don't understand how an 18-year-old could, with no platform, have more votes than me.
18-year-old comes out of nowhere and gets more votes than Paul.
An 18-year-old?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he cheated to get on the ballot, too, another one.
Zachary Hurwitz. mind you, Paul ran for governor for like 2 years straight, like the longest in Rhode Island
Yeah, that
history
doesn't
of
make
anybody
sense.
ever running
And
for
why would
governor.
anyone fucking vote for an 18-year-old?
I don't know.
Well, at the end of
Nothing
the day,
nothing against an 18-year-old if you're smart enough to.
I'll
I
take
mean,
the conspiracy
listen,
badge right here and say I believe Paul got more votes than he was told.
I'm gonna lean towards that too.
and what they did to me was insane. My number, I handed in over how many signatures?
Ugh, like 1,400.
About 1,400 to 1,500 signatures I handed in, and they said about
They threw out like 300 to 400 of them.
300 to 400
They
signatures.
tried to say my signature was bad.
Yeah, they said her signature was bad, her father's signature was bad, and
I said, no, I'm right here. That's
Yeah.
my signature.
you know, and it's crazy because, you know, you look on the screen, and they compare signatures from what it was to what it is.
But they dragged it out for like over a month, so he lost over a month of campaign trail time.
Right.
Mind you, the Sabina case, they had that solved in like a week, if that. So I guess they pick and choose who they expedite when it comes to the nomination process. I feel like they did everything they could to slow Paul down and mess him up, and it was election interference 100%.
And people even showed up like to support me to get me on the ballot, and you know I thank everyone who showed up, and you know they were in the crowd, and you know all of this, and at the first time though they had state police there at my first hearing.
They never have state police at the board of
Really?
election hearings.
Yeah. So
What the fuck were they afraid of? Were they afraid of a riot or something happening? Like what?
well I don't know, but
3 years of events, we haven't had one friggin' riot. So
Right.
like,
they
what's the deal?
They had state police there for the first one,
Very interesting.
and then the second one they didn't have state police. So
only because we called it out though
yeah,
online.
yeah, I was like, you know, for what reason? So they didn't show up, whatever. We did do a protest in front of Board of Elections before my hearings. And on the Board of Election signs outside, it says Rhode Island Board of Elections. We made a sign and we made it say Rhode Island Board of Corruption. And, you know, we all took pictures with it and all of that. And, you know, and then we put in front of the mail-in ballot box, corruption.
And then we had a sign that said "easy to vote, hard to get on the ballot."
Exactly. And
Make it make sense.
like,
They
they
want
were,
everybody to be able to vote, but nobody to get on the ballot.
and then they were talking about my tattoo artist, right? He signed it, and I'm like, that's my tattoo artist. So if you want proof of handwriting, I have it right here.
You got it all over you.
Yeah, and he goes, well, he's under oath, so I'll allow it.
So I want to get this wrapped up here, but I want to get some last thoughts on going back to. So what's the next move? What's the next move on campaigning? What's the next move on making more awareness to child trafficking?
Well, the next move, as far as me running, I'm in debates and talking with a couple of people.
Still
and,
a few years left.
I still got a few years left,
Till
but
the next election.
it's either governor of Rhode Island again or mayor of Providence.
Go governor.
I'm well known in Providence, and you know,
Born and raised.
I grew up in South Side and all of that, so I'm familiar to all areas. But I also feel like I would make a huge difference and make Rhode Island so much better than what it is if I was governor. And see, that's where I'm kind of stuck. Now, the problem is no one in the past, I think, 2 elections for mayor has ran against any Democrat. Brett Smiley, he only...
How pathetic is that? Brett Smiley didn't even have one Republican that ran against him.
So he didn't have anyone going against him.
Pathetic.
And I don't think Alorza had anyone running against him either.
How did the Republicans allow the most important city in our state to go uncontested?
You know what I mean? So if, you know, that's why I say I'm kind of torn. But I do want to host a whole bunch of other people that I want to run for representative and Senate seats, and that will run under the Independent American Patriots. And, you know, granted, we may not have millions of dollars, but we have each other, and we can, you know, as a grassroots movement, give you support and try to get out there and help you win. And
I would just love to hear the excuse if you did have millions of dollars. Like, what would they make up then?
Right. You're like, whoa, if you give us this much, Paul, we can do this for you. And Paul says, fuck you.
Exactly. Like, I'm not for sale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I run for the people. I run for America, and I run for everybody, not just a specific group. I don't run on a specific agenda. If I'm gonna represent, I'm gonna represent everybody. I will not be able to please everybody. You know what I mean? As my beliefs are different than everybody else's, but I will sit down. I will speak to everyone. I will talk with everyone, and the one thing I can say though, I will not allow socializations in school. I will not allow socialization books in libraries, and I will make sure that our children are not for sale, whether that be from sex trafficking or their minds will not be for sale in public education.
Also, Paul, when he ran for governor, he was the only gubernatorial candidate that made recovery a part of his platform. You had two gubernatorial candidates, Dan McKee and Ashley Callis, who took videos and pictures on the campaign trails of them doing shots with their supporters. Mind you, we have huge addiction issues in Rhode Island. I think that recovery is a very important topic that matters, and none of our elected officials ever talk about it. How do we break people out of addiction? How do we help people's mental health if we're using our platform for sinister addiction and stuff like that? You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, recovery is something that matters a lot to me. I've lost so many friends to overdoses. I've had so many people in my life who struggled with alcohol abuse, and I think recovery is something that truly matters. Today is actually, today is 1 month that I've been marijuana free. I used marijuana every day of my life since I was 15 years old, and I kind of hit a point where I felt like I was too dependent on it, and I wanted to know that I could survive without it, and I've never felt better. 1 month free.
Good for you.
And all the marijuana smokers were not knocking you,
No, definitely not knocking you.
Do your thing.
I used it medicinally a lot.
Right.
Because, there's a lot of other drugs that are worse out there you could be using.
Much worse.
Yeah.
So, we're not knocking anyone who smokes,
Stay away from that fentanyl shit.
Exactly. And, so like I was saying, that if I do decide to run, it would be for the greater good of Rhode Island. I would be fighting for all Rhode Islanders. And I will not be just, fighting, like I said, for a specific group. But my main goal, like I said, I am not a political figure. I ran for political office, but I am not a political figure. Paul Rianna Jr., who fights for the people, who fights for your rights, who fights for your children, who fights for your Second Amendment right. Before I ever decided to run for governor, I'm Paul Rianna, the CNA. Paul Rianna, the mental health worker. I am Paul Rianna, the everyday person who will fight for your rights, who will fight for your medical freedom, who will fight for the residents and patients who are being abused and locked down on mental health wards. I will fight for people who are being abused in solitary confinement. I will fight for every single individual who is being mistreated by the government in the state of Rhode Island. And that's what everyone needs to understand.
Be a voice for the voiceless.
Exactly. I will be a voice for the voiceless. And, it's not about red or blue. It's about the red, white, and blue. And I will always support America. And I will always fight for every individual American's rights. And as far as the, southern border and the illegal immigrants coming here, if you want to come here legally, and we'll be more than glad to have you. But what's going on in New York right now is disgusting. Disgusting. They're overflowing migrants with New York, and it's crazy.
Massachusetts, who wanted to turn themselves into a sanctuary state, just declared a state of emergency because they can't handle all the migrants.
So did New York. The governor of New York did too. He
like,
wanted to send them back.
Who could have guessed this would happen?
Yeah.
Exactly. And who knows what's going on in Rhode Island? We don't hear nothing about it. But how many buses are coming in Rhode Island? We don't know.
I've heard when we spoke to some employees at the airport when he was running for governor, And they said all the time there's like these huge like planes that are like basically they
Flying
were
in.
alluding to the fact that they were dropping people off.
Very interesting.
Yeah, because we were talking to the fire people that work in the fire department over there near the airport, and you know, they're very supportive of me running for governor, and you know,
Very suspicious of what happens at the airport.
exactly. And they were saying like there's, you know, airplanes coming in at weird time of nights and certain secluded areas and stuff like that. And it just goes to show, like, who knows how many migrants come here. We took in Afghanistan migrants.
Yep.
God knows how long ago. And Governor Dan McKee said they're allowed to have their religious freedom, but Rhode Islanders weren't allowed to have their religious freedom. And I'll never forget that. People who wanted religious freedom against the vaccine weren't allowed.
Yep.
But he wrote a whole letter about Afghanistan people being able to have their religious freedom. And this is what people want for the state of Rhode Island. That's not what I want. But I want to say thank you for having us. We appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
And
I hope you let me host you when you get down to the line of where you're going to start campaigning. I hope you'll
maybe
let me
you
host
can come work for. I need real people for my administration. You know, not toy soldiers.
We could talk about it.
Yeah,
We could definitely talk about it.
We'll have to figure out the numbers if there is any numbers by the time they're finished with the state. You know, but
Fire all the people who aren't doing their job, and if there's a position in there that you think that I would fit in there, we'll talk about it.
I'm gonna have to file the state police for protection because I know they're gonna take me out.
Well,
Just kidding.
all you need is the right guy that's in control of the state police. I think that's the attorney general, isn't it?
Oh, he'll take me out even quicker.
Well, you gotta fire that guy. Replace him with somebody that'll actually take care of the issues.
I want to say one more thing
Sure,
that I'm going through right now.
Sure.
There's good state police too.
As far as
there is.
So I was working at Fatima Hospital, and there was an incident where a resident had stole a cell phone.
Uh-oh.
Now, I haven't spoke about this, so you're the first one to
This
hear
is
it.
breaking news.
Exclusive.
I've
So-
been begging him to go public with this.
So a resident had lost a cell phone. No, not a resident. A worker had left his cell phone down, and the resident stole the cell phone. Now, on a mental health wing, that's like a code red. You know, they can't have it because who can they call? They could hurt themselves with it, hurt somebody else. I don't know. But it's just protocol. So we called security to come down and, you know, retrieve the phone. They called back. They just redirected my other co-worker that the cell phone is on this patient, and they have it hidden in their brief. So my coworker goes up to the individual. And says, "Security called us. We know you have the cell phone." So she starts stripping.
Uh-oh.
On a mental health floor, she starts stripping. So
On her own accord.
on her own accord, no one touched her. She starts stripping. She rips off her Johnny, and you know she does like a 360 and says, "I don't have the phone." So I'm just standing at the door like, holy shit. My coworker leaves, calls security again, says they don't have the phone. And security said, "We told you that they had the phone in their brief." So he comes back and he goes, "Security said you have the phone in your brief." So she pulls down her pants. So I'm like, holy shit, you know, whatever. The phone popped out. My coworker grabbed the phone. The individual that was in there put on her clothes, put on her Johnny, pulled up her brief, all of that. So I kind of do one of these.
She was in distress.
You know, she was crying, all that. So I go, you know, everything's gonna be okay. You know,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And they called me into HR about 2 weeks later, and they said, "Paul, we're gonna have to suspend you." I said, "For what? For hugging a patient?" I said, "Who the hell did I hug?" "Oh, well, that incident with the cell phone, da-da-da. Why didn't you stop it?" I said, "I took the proper protocols. I called security. They didn't come down, so they didn't follow their protocols. You know, my coworker got the cell phone after it fell out of her brief. Oh, well, when she stripped, why didn't you cover her?" I said, "Just imagine if I did cover her or touch her. what trouble I would be in. You're sitting here trying to say I hugged her for doing a little sidearm shoulder rub.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen. And they're like, well, we're going to have to suspend you to investigate. So for 3 weeks, I was suspended, and they were investigating. They call me back in the office, and they sit down. They said, well, even though we don't like what we saw, we're going to clear you of what happened, and we're going to let you go back to work on the same floor, and the resident will still be there. We're going to put you on a performance improvement plan, which basically says you can't do this, you can't do that. They did bring up, you cannot campaign on the floor. I said, what are you talking about? They said, you cannot get signatures on the property. I said, anyway, okay, whatever, it is what it is. You know, friends want to sign my signature paper back then, that's what it was. So I said, okay, boom. 2 weeks later, I get called into the office again. They, someone made a fake catalyst report saying that I gave an individual a shower who was 2-to-1 by myself. I said, okay, that didn't ever happen. I said, you can ask the nurse. She was in there with me. Blah, blah, blah.
What's a 2-to-1?
Like you have to have 2 mental health workers, 1 patient. I said, you can ask the nurse. She was in there with me. Blah, 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 boop. So it take a week. They call me back in and they say, we apologize. We was wrong. We seen the nurse in there. You know, I'm sorry, but we're going to fire you for the first thing.
That we cleared you for.
That we cleared you for. So they fired me for the first thing. Mind you, they always had a grudge against me because I protested in front of their building. So they fired me for the first thing, right? Then, after they fired me for the first thing, I said, well, I want to know, because I received a letter from the Rhode Island Department of Health, because you tried to go after my license, they cleared me. Rhode Island Department of Health said, oh, we don't see no wrongdoing, even though, you know, we didn't like what we saw on the camera.
Right.
Okay, so, boom. Then they bring in my coworker. They offered him unemployment not to fight it. Right? So he took it. They didn't offer me shit. They said, we're going to fire you, da, da, da. So I asked them what the reason was. They said because it was basically an order from the Attorney General. I don't know how true that is. I don't have paperwork on that. But they said the Attorney General
told them
to fire me.
For the thing he had already been cleared
The Attorney
for.
General.
Yeah. For the thing I've already been
Mind
cleared.
you, the Attorney General that
Interesting.
is...
I've been cleared for it. Now, I don't know how true it is. I don't know. I'm going through arbitration, and there's no way they're going to win it. You fired me and then cleared me. So I'm
No,
going
you
to...
cleared you and then fired you.
Yeah, same,
Right,
whatever.
cleared you and fired you, yeah.
Yeah. And so there's no way they're going to win that. So it's more of a retaliation thing, I feel
Yeah,
like.
that's what it sounds like. I was just about to say that.
He's
Yeah.
spoken up against the Attorney General before.
Yeah.
So
and
how is this not...
You protested in front of them. You've spoken about the Attorney General. You got signatures from there, right? Well,
yeah, but...
before they told you that you couldn't.
Only a few.
Yeah.
Only a few.
Like maybe
well,
two.
before they told you that you couldn't. You know.
So it just goes to show you that, you know, everyone's like, oh, you know...
Interesting.
The unvaccinated are not targeted individuals. Well, here you go.
Oh yeah, and you did, and you
Yeah.
refused vaccination.
Exactly. So I was a targeted individual, and we were supposed to have arbitration September 11th. They postponed it. You know what I mean? So it's like
Interesting.
Dragging it out.
they're just dragging it out longer and longer. But you know, either way, I know I'm gonna win that because you can't clear someone and fire them for the same thing you cleared them for. It makes no sense.
My question is though, like, why does the Attorney General have that much power over them, where they can clear you? For
Why is he even
something
involved in the first
and
place?
then get you fired?
Exactly, because it wasn't nothing criminal, and the Rhode Island Department of Health cleared me.
It's total political targeting.
So
That's what it sounds like.
Like 100%.
Why would he even be involved in the first place? Like, why is he even allowed to be? Like,
I guess there's a professional standards unit on something like that.
and
And as far as
he oversees that or something. Or?
well, I guess their office does, but
Interesting.
there was no neglect or abuse.
But
so-
he knows who you are.
Oh,
right?
of course he knows
Yeah.
who I
Oh,
am.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But there was no neglect or abuse. There was, you know.
Paul endorsed the person who ran against.
Yeah,
the
that
Attorney
too.
General.
I endorsed the person who ran against him, and the person I endorsed was my lawyer. So,
Oh, shit.
so you know, it's kind of like holy shit, you know. So it kind of is what it is, but you know, it just goes to show you that if you speak up against the establishment, they'll target you in your life more than one way.
Right.
And this is the one way to where, you know.
I just like get sick to my stomach when I see the Attorney General preaching about how he fights against corruption in the state every day, when you literally like politically targeted my boyfriend and got him fired
and commit your own
fucked his
corruption.
whole life over for no reason, for something he was cleared for. He was cleared by the hospital for it and by the Department of Health for it. Like, that is corruption.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like retaliation.
Sounds like you pick and choose where to fight corruption, you know? And it's like political targeting.
And I feel like it should have stopped there when my license was cleared.
Exactly.
And the person at the hospital who kind of oversees like the disciplinary, I looked at her in the face and I told her, I said, you're talking to me because of what I did in front of the hospital. I said, I'm not a retard. I said, you're not going to talk to me like a retard.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, I know. Before we even opened the book to see what happened, I seen the tape and I know you're guilty. She goes, why didn't you ask the resident to put her clothes on? I said, I did ask her, and then I told her to. 3 times. I said, but you didn't hear that? She goes, no, we don't have voice on the cameras. So how do you know what was said and not said?
Exactly.
And that was another issue. They don't have voice on the cameras.
Interesting. Well, I hope this gets resolved. I really do. And you said September 11th, but it was supposed to be September 11th that you were supposed to go for arbitration, but now they
keep postponing it and carrying it out.
Well,
I hope that gets resolved. Is there any way to get that like a speedy trial type version of this, or?
Well, the thing is, the union lawyer is representing me.
Okay.
So it's kind of like at their discretion.
Right.
We know how the union treated us during the pandemic, so
right.
I'm kind of not expecting much, but I'm surprised they allowed this to go to arbitration.
It's never too late for them to try to redeem themselves and make up for their wrongdoings.
Right.
We have to have some type of faith in people. Redemption is a very real thing that people are capable of.
Sure.
Because they vote on what goes to arbitration or what doesn't.
Can't lose faith.
And they voted all to let this go to arbitration. So I'm surprised.
Well, make noise.
The Attorney General made Paul lose his job.
The Attorney General. Well, make noise, and in the long run, honestly, a lot of this stuff is going to bite them in the ass, because if you do end up becoming a primary, at the very least a primary, you know what I mean, and you're debating against whoever else, I don't know if Damick, he can run again. I don't know.
Yeah, he's got another 4 years.
He can run one more time.
Yeah, so give them the big fuck you. You know what I mean? I love what you're doing. I love the ideas that you want to implement. I love that you have a team with you. I love that you have an organization that you're forming with you, and I was thankful to be a part of it. Any help that I can provide, I definitely will. How can they reach you? For anyone listening.
Well, you can follow me on Facebook. That's the main thing, and if you can't get in touch with me, get in touch with Kara.
Kara Kryptonite on everything.
And I'm just Paul Rianna. So you type in my name.
And Independent Patriot on TikTok. Oh yeah, make sure you get those followers up on TikTok for both Kara and Paul Rianna. I think Paul, you go by Independent Patriot.
Yeah, Independent Patriot.
Go give him the follows. Get him up to 1,000, so he can at least get up to 1,000. So we can at least do a live. And I think Kara, you're pretty close.
I'm almost at 700.
Yeah, she's pretty close. So get her
slow
up.
and steady.
Yeah, get her up there.
Censorship doesn't help.
Yeah, the censorship doesn't help. And I'll be back up there to do live September 7th. Like I said early in the beginning, when you're tuned in, TikTok took me off. I'm not off. I can post videos, but I can't go live because I guess I said some bad things yesterday.
Misinformation.
Yeah, misinformation stuff apparently.
But they won't tell you what.
They won't tell me why. They won't tell me why. They never do.
Yeah, because they know they would be wrong.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I appreciate y'all for coming. I really do.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, and y'all have to come back in again.
It's my first podcast in like years and years and
That's
years.
amazing.
So.
That's awesome. Also, I actually I didn't know that at first when I first met you, I didn't know the connection yet, and I came across a TikTok video of you speaking, I think, inside of the State House. And I think that was during you were speaking about the pandemic, I think.
Yeah, in the state of emergency.
In the state of emergency stuff. And I was like, oh, that's dope. And
I titled it 2 minutes for 2 years because they only gave us 2 minutes to speak after not allowing us in the State House for 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. They gave everyone time limits. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And everyone that's out there that tuned in, I appreciate you. Also, Soulful Rebellion, thank you for tuning in. Sharon Clark, Liz Minda, Lonnie, Hartman, Fake Mike Real News, Will Turbot. I appreciate y'all. MAGA Man, everyone that's viewing. If I don't mention you or don't see you on, I appreciate everyone tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe the channel, the TRU Perspective, the Tru Perspective on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Rumble. You can also reach me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, TRU_Warface. And I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Thank y'all, Paul. Thank y'all. Thank you, Kara, for coming in. I appreciate y'all. If you're tuning in this transmission,
God bless America.
You are the resistance.
Shout out to independent American patriots.
Shout out to independent American Patriots. Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all.